A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. You have found the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us, listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, the Fan Rochester on YouTube, also on Twitch. I mean, tens and tens of new viewers today because I've got an official monitor behind me now, a backdrop with our logo. And, man, do we look more official today than we've ever looked, Gino?
It's two logos. It's the Fan Rochester logo, switching over to the Sports Bar logo. But when we offend the GM or something like that and we'll go viral, we'll be ready because the logo will be right behind you and that'll go viral.
I mean, we really are the envy of the company. And imagine if Jeremy White had a big, bold monitor next to him as Brandon Bean was talking about how he's bitching about what we're going to get into it with Jeremy White. He's joining us later on this afternoon.
I didn't know bitching was a profanity. I'm seeing like people repurposing that audio and saying profanity warning. I'm like, really?
Yeah, if you're
oh
soft,
my gosh, yeah, like, okay.
I think we've seen and heard worse than that.
At worst, it's a crass word.
You've called me crass many a time, so I would say, if that's crass, then I don't really know what I am. But yes, I'll listen
you're
to that.
crass. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Also joining us on the show today, Spencer German, Rochester native Spencer German, from our Odyssey sister station 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. I don't know, the Browns, what's happening with this team, the weirdest quarterback room ever. Yeah, where do they go from here, Spencer? Or is this all going to work? Like, it's a season of hope, Danger. Springtime is eternal. Yes, this is the time the NFL wants you to think your team has a chance. We'll talk some Cleveland Browns football. Maybe we'll also talk about that team that nobody seems to talk about these days, the Cavs. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Monday night. Gosh.
That was
forget the quick take, forget the play-in tournament forever, because that's it produces a team that loses by 50 points. Okay, when do I get to Cancun
I just think, just quitting. Just the team completely quitting. All right, we have no chance. We're not going to show up. We have no heart. We're not going to fight. We'll just roll over and lose by 53 points in the most lopsided series in NBA history. The Cavs advance. We'll get Spencer's take on the Cavs and on the Browns when he joins us here later on this afternoon at 4:25. You can join us at any point this afternoon on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com, the website.
I'm getting overpowered by cleaner. Did you just do
I did. Yeah, I spilled a little bit of my coffee out of my Yeti. I didn't spill it on the board, pizza dude. Don't worry. It was just right here on the counter, and I can't do 20 minutes with that distraction. I had to eliminate that, so we happen to have some leftover COVID wipes here from 2020 that I think did the job.
A reference maybe only a few people would get, but my first radio job as an intern, 96.5 WCMF, when they were on Monroe Avenue.
Uh-huh.
And afternoons, this is before the Bull back in the day. This was Janet Merriam.
Okay.
Janet Merriam followed Kano, and she was kind of the cool woman who just knew a lot about music and just can kind of rap and everything else like that. Coffee.
Oh.
All over the board.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, well, right, but it knocks you off the air back then. Yeah.
It's a rite of passage. I mean, if you do this long enough, eventually you're going to spill something on the very expensive technical equipment. Don't worry, pizza dude. I didn't get any on the board. We're good. It was just a couple drops, but it was enough to make me say, let me get one of these COVID wipes to get this out of here, and let's move on with the show.
Let's move on here. And for the show, we are here, well, we meaning me and Tim, for the rest of the week. This is your last day. This time tomorrow, you'll be taking in New York Mets baseball. I'm not saying call in, Danger, but if you wanted to, you can. But if you're out there having a good time with the guys and you get swept up in the energy of Citi Field, look, you do whatever you think is right tomorrow.
I'm going with two Mets fans and I think a Phillies fan because he's in Philadelphia. In fact, I don't even know if Matt is a baseball guy or not. I think he just likes to go and be a part of the scene, which I'm all right with. Yeah, don't worry. I'll pepper you with pictures, and if time allows, maybe I'll drop a call just to, say what a great time I'm having because I know I'm going to have a great time.
Don't be pranking the show, though. Remember, we have fail-safes to know. I know if you're pranking us here, right? Way back in the day, like the call would come in, okay, hello, fan Rochester. So you're not going to pull one over as in this week that we're talking about all these prank calls.
Hey, I'd like to order a pizza. Can I order a pizza? That was the request line prank call that I always got for years and years and years of doing music radio. So, yeah, I won't prank call you, but I know you're thinking that I'm going to go in there and somehow I'm going to become converted and become a Mets fan. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go. I'm going to have a great time. I'm excited to be at Citi Field. I've never been. I think that if you're a sports fan, you want to go to as many different stadiums as you can and arenas and absorb as much atmosphere from every team if you can. And I'm excited. This is a part of that process.
It's always something cool when you go into a new stadium that you've seen on television for how many times. And I don't know why that is with baseball as compared to football and other sports. I think maybe just because baseball, it's what the camera's showing you and everything's a little different.
It's because it's the one constant through all the years, Gene. It's been baseball. That's why. America's been rolled like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard. It's been rebuilt. It's been erased again. But baseball, Gene, baseball has marked the time.
So one thing, if you and your Met buddies, they're going to know this. Now, I don't know if your Met buddy, I'm going to assume they've been there, but maybe they're going to do this. As you get down to Citi Field, here's what you can do around there. Nothing. All right. Yes. You make fun of it. Ha, ha, ha. Basically, it's this. You have the expressway on one side. You have a parking lot on the other. You have the 7 line, the subway. And you literally have a junkyard behind center field.
Yeah.
But there is one thing you can do, Danger. In that parking lot, close to the field, you can see, and it's kind of cool, and it's a big photo op, the actual diamond of where Shea Stadium used to be.
Okay.
And home plate, and this is where the winning run was scored in Game 6 of the World Series. So I'll send you the picture of my daughter Allie, like way back when, posing behind home plate. That would be kind of a cool photo op if you took
I'm gonna follow the herd. I'm gonna go with what my guys want to do. If they want to check that out, I'll be a part of it, and I'll make a suggestion. Like, hey, let me check that out. I know we're taking the 7 in. We're gonna take the train in. We're not gonna mess around with any parking or any driving or any of that stuff. Don't want to deal with any of that. We're gonna have a good time. We're going to have a good time, and afterwards I'll give you a complete
all right, where are you going to dinner?
Complete rundown on Monday. Well, a couple of options here. There's a place called, I believe it's just called Steak and Bourbon. And I'm like, well, I mean, if there's truth in advertising, that's the place for me. We're trying to get into this steakhouse that's really exclusive and hard to get into called Fort Charles. Have you heard of Fort Charles?
No. I should know these places.
Fort Charles is really small, not a lot of seats, but ridiculous. And we're on some sort of priority emergency notification. Like if somebody is going to back out of their reservation, it takes forever to get in there. It's impossible. You're looking it up right now and salivating. It's that kind of place.
All right, so this is like old New York, wood from top to bottom, the old seats, the leather. How you would picture a steakhouse, but then I'm saying, just kind of looking at some of these dishes there.
One of my guys he's saying he's going to suit up. I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to suit up. I'm traveling light. I don't know that I want to pack a suit just to go to have a steak and bourbon dinner with my boys. So, if
you think a collar you would have to
collar,
have.
yes. I'm not going to show up in jeans and a t-shirt. I can pull off a collared shirt, but if you're asking me to suit up, that might be a bridge too far. Because I'm easy. I don't need to be at the most exclusive restaurant in the city. We're going to have a good time, and I'll recap everything when we get back on Monday.
Ooh. Oh yeah, the oysters. Yeah, they do this right here.
No, that place is insane. It's hard to get into. They do a prime rib that is next level, and I maybe someday, probably not on this trip, but maybe someday. We'll see. And maybe this trip, we'll see if we get the call from the bullpen.
I know. You're kind of like, me. I'm like, I love New York. I love New York. I think you're somebody who's like that, but in small doses, and this is perfect for you.
Yeah, it is. And every time I go to New York or Toronto or Chicago, I always say the same thing. I need more of insert city here in my life. I like going to the big city. I don't know that I like the idea of living in a big city, but I do like going to the big city. I like the energy, the atmosphere, the action. I don't like the smell, but I do like being a part of being in, like Toronto last weekend was fantastic. Just great vibes. You're walking around. The city is clean. People are friendly. A couple of homeless people here and there, but what are you going to do, right? And New York City, I get the same. There's a more intensified energy walking around New York City than even in Toronto. So I always look forward to that. I always need more of that in my life.
But then the logic part is, okay, this would be fun. How could I afford this? Well, what I want, you live like our guy, RJ Santillo.
Remember RJ?
Yeah, so RJ was our producer, and if you listen to like Michael K's show on ESPN New York, I feel like
the pride of SUNY Brockport.
Yeah, he, like Belichick doesn't have a coaching tree. Walsh had a coaching tree. Like your brother and I argue about all this stuff. RJ's from my coaching tree.
Oh,
okay, that's from my tree.
Okay,
right. He did it right, and this is what you do. He lived in Hoboken, where you're getting the city, kind of, and you take the ferry over.
Yeah, you have to work. Yeah. You have to work. You go into the city, however you have to get in, and you live someplace where you can afford to live. It all works out. Looking forward to that, and I'll keep you posted on what goes on, and we'll certainly recap everything, all the festivities on Monday. Speaking of prank calls, should we talk about the Atlanta Falcons who constantly find themselves in trouble every offseason? What's going on with these guys?
Well, so you had Jeff Ulbrich, who, quite honestly, Danger, I barely knew the guy until he took over last year for the Jets, but there he is, the new defensive coordinator, just mumbling his way through an apology up at the podium. Team fined $250,000. Ulbrich himself fined $100,000, and a lot of jokes, because this is the fault of one Jax, not a real name, Jax.
Not a real name.
And I learned this detail from listening to Eisen today. Apparently, I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds familiar. Apparently, Jax saw the number, gave it to his college roommate.
Yeah.
And his roommate at
his
Ole Miss,
college roommate, Frank Rizzo, decided to call Shador. Hey, Shador, it's me, Frank Rizzo. Yeah, general manager of Cleveland Browns. I'm the best. What do you need? I can get it for you.
What if Frank Rizzo was like the special assistant to Brandon Beane?
Yeah, Brandon, it's me, Frank Rizzo. Clean your ears, jackass. Whatever you need, I can get it for you. Everybody's bitching about you not taking a wide receiver. I don't care that you didn't take a wide receiver. You know what? Put me in. I'm the best. I can run every route. I can get my hands are like glue. I can catch everything. Catch everything. Frank Rizzo, Rizzo, assistant to Brandon Beane. Maybe.
As far as your jerky boys, I would put that second.
It's not my best.
No,
not my best. My best is on the shelf. Well, after what they went through last year with the tampering, it just feels like every year the Falcons find themselves in hot water after
they got in trouble for fake crowd noise too.
Right.
Like, if you're the owner, at some point, you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I like money.
Clown show. It's not a lot of money when you consider the wealth of Arthur Blank, but still, these organizations aren't really into, and Jeff Ulbrich isn't into giving away six figures just because his son snatched a phone number.
Wow. Six figures, even for, a guy who's a coach in the NFL that's pulling down seven?
Yeah.
Explain that one away if you're the son.
You're not allowed to come on vacation. You're done. Move out. We're done with you.
But here are the Falcons, though. This was also the thing that Eisen was explaining. For the cell phones for every player that is draft eligible, okay? That's part of it, okay? You got to contact them on draft day, right? There's only three people in each organization that get these numbers. The GM, the head coach, the personnel director. So what was Jeff Ulbrich doing with this, too? So hey, Falcons, you might want to tighten that up there just a little bit.
That's one bit of news that we can put a bow on here, as a residual from the draft. There's another bit of news that we talked about earlier in the week. Mentioned how, I say I need more Toronto or New York City in my life. I need more CBS Sunday morning in my life. It's just make it part of the routine. You get up early Sunday, get a cup of coffee going, maybe put it on.
But Danger, that's journalism at its
Oh,
finest.
it's so
and
good.
And everybody on CBS this morning has to have kind of the same type of soothing voice.
Yeah.
You might have had a busy Saturday night.
They do. They all.
No, we don't fart on our show. I'm sorry.
No, you flatulate, of course. I think it's great though. It is such a different vibe and such a laid back vibe. And so, and good for them. They're getting a lot of attention for the interview that they did with Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick now, after yesterday, the tease from his girlfriend, Jordan Davis, that there was going to be an announcement. We didn't get an announcement yesterday, but we did get one today from the University of North Carolina and from Bill Belichick.
Yeah, so this is Belichick. And, okay. I 3 paragraphs, and we'll pause it at the end of each paragraph and kind of comment here. I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to this interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would focus solely on the contents of this book. Okay. So then pick a bone with then you understand how this works, Bill, right? Simon & Schuster's paying you for a book. You have to promote said book.
Right.
And you want to talk about a safe spot. This isn't Barstool. This isn't McAfee.
No.
This is CBS Sunday Morning.
Right.
Come on. Paragraph 2. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. Wait a second. Hold on. Expectation, that's CBS, not your publicist. This isn't a PR thing, buddy. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced. Really? I repeatedly expressed to the reporter, Tony, I can't say his last name, and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. Okay, fair enough. This occurred several times. Jordan, whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate, to point out, to refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply was doing her job to ensure that the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. Okay, then why not just say that? Oh, by the way, is that really true? Finally, the final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics related to my career.
Boring.
Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which simply is not true. Okay.
So many things to unpack from this. First of all, Jordan can really, really write a press release. That was well done. She did a great job writing that. That's three paragraphs penned by Jordan that she somehow got the University of North Carolina involved in because it's his book. Why is the university putting this out?
What does the university care about this? What does this have to do with Tar Heel? This is you being caveman. Stop picking on my girlfriend.
I don't think he's doing it. I think it's all her. I don't think he has anything to do with this. Maybe I'm naive, but reading this statement, I don't believe that this is actually from Bill Belichick.
Okay, that makes all the sense in the world. This is the one thing I would caution both Bill and Jordan. There's video of this, you realize. I believe the TMZ report that Jordan multiple times interjected and then stormed off the set.
Yeah.
In a huff. What does that video look
so
like?
She put out the email. She released the email yesterday that went into from the publicist that talked about how they wanted to promote this book. And I think what they're trying to do is build a case that this was unprofessional because they asked him questions unrelated to his book. And they can ask him whatever they want to ask him. Of course, he's there to promote his book, but just talking and being forward-facing helps promote your book. You're showing up on CBS Sunday Morning. You're going to sell some copies.
Look, we all know this in the business, right? There's a quid pro quo when you bring on a guest like this. They're selling something. He's selling the book. And part of the interview, too, was, and this is, hey, you didn't mention Robert Kraft. Why is that? didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
That's a legitimate question. Like in the acknowledgments, why wouldn't you acknowledge the guy you said that? But when you do these interviews, it's also understood that the guest, the person selling the product, is going to answer things that are not related to what you are selling. There was one time that Matt Harvey, the pitcher for the Mets at the time, who was like the biggest thing in the world, went on Patrick and's like, nope, I'm not answering anything. I'm only here to talk about what I came up. And I'm like, okay. And it ended up being really cringy. Is that what you want, Bill? Because that's what you're kind of saying. I think there's a lot to kind of unpack there. And this relationship, it gave you kind of a glimpse there that she's doing everything she can. I don't know, to be his manager.
She's in control, man.
Yeah.
She's in control. She recognizes that this guy doesn't know anything about social media or promotion in the year 2025, but she gets that, and she's in control. Like I said, I read that, and I thought to myself, wow, Jordan Hudson wrote a really good statement on behalf of her boyfriend and the university. This is really well done. She probably wrote it, sent it to the university. They all, let's get this out there. This is a bigger deal than we need to make of it, and it's going to sell more books. Ultimately, they're getting what they want, which is more than just an 8-minute segment on CBS Sunday Morning. They get us talking about it even longer than honestly, if it was just 8 minutes of Bill Belichick talking about his book, boring. He's never been good with the media. With the exception of his analysis on ESPN.
CBS wants better ratings this week. Okay, we're going to clear the decks. We know there's all these things going on in the world, India, Pakistan. You're concerned about tariffs. No. We're not going to talk about that. Here is all the unedited footage. Go. We tune in that. We would tune in for that.
Absolutely. Release the tapes. Let's see what it all looked like. Let's get to Jeremy White. Boy, talk about somebody being in a huff. Brandon Beane not pleased with.
I'll do it in my CBS Sunday Morning. Brandon Beane was upset, seemingly, with the host from WGR.
We love how Jeremy handled himself, of course, on Monday, and Brandon Beane was in rare form. We'll talk a little bit about that, but more importantly, we'll spend time talking about the picks made and the offseason up to date for the Buffalo Bills, the host of Jeremy and Joe on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo. Jeremy White stopping by the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia next on The Fan.
Amherst with a chance to advance to round 2 in the Calder Cup playoffs. Game 3 of the best of 5 tomorrow night in Syracuse. We'll have it for you right here on the Fan beginning at 7. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks with the call. On this getaway Wednesday, only 3 games in progress in the majors. Tigers leading the Astros 7-1. They're in the top of the 5th. No score between the Braves and the Rockies in the 2nd. The Marlins and Dodgers also scoreless in the 2nd. Yankees tonight in action. They are in Baltimore once again. Cookie Carrasco to get the start for the Bombers. The Mets hosting Arizona. Rochester Red Wings looking to get on the winning track here after dropping the opener last night. They once again host Lehigh Valley tonight. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Today, get 2 buckets for the price of 1 to Big Oak Driving Range. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on the Fan Rochester. By now, everybody heard Brandon Bean's appearance on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo, from Jeremy and Joe on Monday morning. A little out of character for Brandon Bean. Jeremy White joining us now in the sports bar, who was conducting that interview. Jeremy, and my takeaway from that conversation is that I wanted to congratulate you because I feel like a round of golf at Oak Hill is in order come training camp. You, Brandon Bean, maybe Josh Allen. Congratulations, bud.
Well, I don't know if I'll get the invite. I better get my game in shape if that's the case, because those guys can both play.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you've been around. Like you've had probably coaches or GMs or whoever. First time this happened to me, and I don't need to read the story. You were right next to me when I wrote something, and Tom Donahoe was upset, and I got pulled aside and let it. Regardless, were you surprised that like Brandon Bean has an issue? Were you surprised that he kind of took to that forum in that way, that he, just heard you in the moment and went off like that?
Sure. One observation I've got is that, and this is, you guys have done this for a long time. This used to happen a lot more, right? This kind of stuff used to be normal. And then I feel like over time, the NFL and all these teams have their own websites and publications and all that. And there's just so much more out there that the teams have become a lot more professional in how they deal with stuff. Not to say that he was unprofessional at all, just that basically these dust-ups used to be like, oh, yeah, how about that, a little dust-up? And now it's once every 5 years, once every 8 years. And it definitely doesn't happen when things are generally good, right? If we're trying to fire a coach, things might get spicy. But, this is just mid-range draft talk. And it was spicy. So, yeah, I mean, I was surprised for sure, mainly because, all I had done was said, I'm going to ask him a question about his draft strategy. The same kind of question you would ask a GM, like, he's going to sign James Cook, maybe. I think a good question for Brandon Bean, which I had intended to ask, but things got, sidetracked, is, do you believe in paying running backs a second contract? That, to me, seems like a good question for someone in management. Whether or not they want to answer it or not is up to them. My question was just, do you think you value receivers at the same level of other teams? Because all these other teams, maybe not all of them, but lots of them. The Lions finished first in points, and they did draft one in the middle rounds, and the Packers have a bunch and drafted them, and the Bucs went with one in the first round, and they've got great receivers. So it was just a matter of, do you think you value on the same level? And he could say yes or no, and the board didn't fall. But I feel like he's tired of hearing it, because he mentioned hearing it over the weekend, and it just kind of bubbled up. So everybody has a breaking point, I guess.
In the spirit of the NFL and NFL franchises always controlling their message, as you alluded to, what do you think his message was here? My theory is that if I don't believe that his reaction was calculated, but there is a message behind his reaction, and to me it was the defense has no excuses based on what they did in this draft and how much he was propping up the performance of the offense last season.
Yeah, I think that's right. The message is Well, I mean, if we want to go all the way in on theory, I think he wanted one, and I think he basically failed to get one.
Yeah.
But that failure is nothing in comparison to the failures of the defense. And I think that's ultimately the big message, which is not wrong. So, hey, you can't come out and say, I really wanted a receiver in the third and fourth round, but I couldn't get one. It couldn't make it happen. I had a deal, and then somebody jumped us. Or I had a guy on the board, and I was so mad about not getting that guy. But nobody ever says that. This gets back to, like, the controlled message. So instead, he's like, all right, well, in my head or on our board or whatever, it maybe just never lined up. And that's a small L for them. But they feel great about the rest of their draft, and they got a lot of wins. And let's look at what we had to do. We had to fix our defense and add a speed receiver. And what do? Well, we fixed our defense, we hope, and the speed receiver, well, who cares? We were awesome anyway. We'll be awesome again. So I do think there's a measured message in there. And, whether it was his frustration or whatever, I don't buy for a second. This is one thing I would dispute, and I kind of don't believe. He's kind of maintaining, why are we talking about it? And the answer to that is quite clear. They had 7 receivers in for visits on the top 30 visits. Everybody pretty much. The head coach talked about wanting explosive vertical and horizontal players in the passing game. So I think they definitely wanted it. And maybe he went a little far in mocking the idea. Like, to me, that's where it's just like, all right. To me, it was a little bit of an oversell.
Well, Jeremy, again, I want to just say what a job. That if you listen to that, everybody in our business should listen to your follow-ups and how you maintain your composure and how he came in so hot. And my question is this: that he keeps receipts. I was surprised that he went to 2018, and isn't it something we can kind of just laugh about how wrong we were? Well, apparently not. And if you're going back that far and you're getting that emotional, if this is a different side of Brandon Beane, or is that actually the real Brandon Beane and we just see a different side of him when he's dealing with it? Is Brandon Beane under more pressure than ever? Is that really what we saw? Somebody that is hearing it about a team that hasn't gotten over the hump yet?
Yeah, maybe. And maybe he thinks he's done enough, and other people that he works with have not done enough, right? Maybe he thinks his coach hasn't done enough. Getting inside all that and getting deep into that is tough to do. The one thing I would say is he has, and when he uses that trump card of Josh Allen, we don't know if Josh Allen was the number one player on his board, number one quarterback on his board. I have reason to think he wasn't, but we never get to know that. And that really doesn't matter because ultimately who you pick matters, and he picked Allen, so he gets the credit for that. He made that pick and the hires around him, and he made the Diggs trade, which I loved, and that helped Allen quite a bit, and he's built a lot of this team. The thing about it now is, if you don't draft receivers or you feel like you're leaving Allen without weapons, anybody that kind of voices that, I said this today on our show because of callers call and say, like, why aren't you, doubling down right back saying you're not going to succeed without wide receivers? And the answer is because I'm not betting against Josh Allen.
That's right.
And Beane's got that shield in front of him. Like, you're going to tell me this guy's not going to win? And I want to say, I'm not going to tell you that. I think he could win without a true number one. I do think he can win without a true number one. I think the Bills roster is, maybe Super Bowl caliber, depending on how this draft goes. So, I think Beane deserves a lot of credit. But at the same time, you pulled the right quarterback, and that's a great trump card. It is a long time ago. And he also kind of alluded to making concessions because of how expensive the quarterback is. And I think this is a department that the Bills kind of convince people they can't do things that they can do. Allen's cap hit this year is going to be 10th among quarterbacks. That's fine. His cap hit is the same as like Deshaun Watson. His cap hit is slightly above Jared Goff. It's below Geno Smith. So they could build a good team around him, and they have. They've got their extensions to their guys. They've invested big in Dawkins and Brown and Dawson Knox, if they like it or not. So, whatever. There are criticisms to be had. There are lots of wins for him that are to be celebrated. And, I've been a pretty reasonable fan of the work that he's done so far. And that doesn't really change. I would probably invest more in receiver. If he thinks he doesn't have to, I think he does have a good argument to stand on to not do it. You could agree with someone or disagree with someone and still think, like, he's got a good case, but I just don't agree with it.
He's keeping the receipts, and you're right. Given the amount of success, both he and McDermott have no problem talking about the amount of success that they've had since inheriting, which was one of the more dysfunctional, if not the most dysfunctional organization in the league. So I can understand them playing that card when they feel like they're being pushed up against the wall. Jeremy, do you think, I'm not going to bet against Josh Allen either. I mean, this is the identity now that they've got a player that appears to be good enough to elevate the play of those around him. We saw what he did with Mac Hollins. I'd struggle to believe that Mac Hollins is going to have the kind of season in New England that he just had in Buffalo, and that's all on Josh Allen's ability. I mean, that is a big stick to wave if you're Brandon Beane, even if he wants to bring up 2018, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point.
And that's the root of the question that I wanted to ask, which was, compared to your peers. If you look at Miami, they value wide receiver greatly because they're propping up Tua to a degree, right? The Jets, what did the Patriots just do? It's Mac Hollins and Diggs, and they drafted in the third round. And if you look at the Lions or the Packers, I already mentioned, the Bears get Luther Burton to add to an already stacked receiver room. So, there's a lot of ways to go about doing it. And the thing about Allen for this is one thing that Beane, whether he's fighting it or I don't know, but think about how many players Josh Allen has played with and how quickly, once that guy is out of the picture, he's toast. And I don't mean necessarily his career is, but Diggs. Bills fans decided Diggs wasn't that good in 5 minutes. And what's going to happen to James Cook? If they finish with a number one offense or number two offense, you're going to have a lot of Bills fans saying, don't pay James Cook $20 million. You got Josh Allen. And they probably will turn it to somebody else. So you kind of have to be a little bit careful because no matter who you are, that's McDermott. He runs up against this. He's got 5 straight AFC East titles. What do people say? That's because of Josh Allen. Beane, what do people say? That's because of Josh Allen. So, it's almost like Josh giveth you success and he taketh away, not by his own hand, but he takes all the credit for that because of how good he is. So if you're a GM, I'd imagine you can sometimes be a little bit burned by that. Like, I've built a hell of an offensive line for you, man. Again, I'm not saying Josh takes that credit actively. It's just the nature of how Bills fans look at it. And everyone seems to think whatever that guy touches is gold. And more often than not, they're right.
Jeremy White, WGR, Jeremy and Joe, which you can catch, comes in clear as a bell here in Rochester, also in the Odyssey app. Jeremy, I'm going to present another theory to you, and it's this. The answer is actually right on the Bills roster right now, where Brandon Beane, you had Sean McDermott's season-ending press conference. We're like, whoa, he's bringing up Keon Coleman by name. Kincaid, you got to put on a little bit in the frame. They've spent their top 2 picks on pass catchers each of the last 2 years. I'm sure Brandon Beane didn't envision it, for this to take that long. Is he, by not going, is that the answer? He doesn't want to throw these guys again under the bus here, maybe give them another year to develop?
I think that's a reasonable approach, right? Coleman, they were disappointed with. He can be a nice player. I feel like he fills a role. I don't have any eyes on him graduating to a number one, but we've been wrong about stuff like that before. Kincaid, we're still waiting for that to pop. I think Josh Palmer's a nice signing, and Curtis Samuel got off on the wrong foot last year. But as we go down these names, this is a reason. If I'm making the point about why they should invest draft picks, is because when you sign a guy like Samuel, it's expensive and you're locked in for term. And if instead that's just a 5th round pick, he can just get beat out for a job tomorrow, and you don't have a cap hit. You're not too worried about that. Same with Josh Palmer. If it doesn't work out, you sign 3 years and $10 million and on we go. So we'll see how that goes. The answers might be in the locker room, and it might be Elijah Moore, who immediately after our conversation, it was reported and then confirmed that they had talked with Elijah Moore, who might immediately be the 3rd or 4th best receiver on this team. Like, he might take someone's job to a degree. And he even said on One Bills Live something to the effect of they talked to Moore before the draft and then put a pin in it to go back and revisit because, if we took a receiver, maybe it wouldn't be a right fit for Moore. So, there's so much evidence that they were interested in receiver. And again, I think the big story there is I wanted one. I didn't get one. I don't think it's a problem. And he might be right.
Looking at the draft in this class, just some observations. It felt like with a couple of picks, they drafted more for a trait than for a player, and you got speed in the 1st round. You got size in the 4th round. I'm curious to get your take on just overall how you think Beane and McDermott did with this draft class, because it sure feels like when we get to St. John Fisher, we're going to see a lot of competition, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
I thought there was a chance that they went heavy for the one technique defensive tackle, and I even thought linebacker could be in the mix, and neither of those really came off the board for them. Even the big guy they got in the fourth round is more known for his pass rush ability. And to me, I think that's probably a good sign. They did a couple things here. They stayed true to who they are. They've always been pass and stop the pass, right, and play nickel defense. And the guy they got in the fifth round can play some nickel and maybe some safety. And to me, that makes sense. Another guy that can kind of swing in between and play those two spots where they frequently need some depth, whether it's Taron Johnson picking up a couple injuries or, if he, I don't want to say hits a wall, but as he enters his twilight, he's not that old. But they did what they do. They went first-round pick. They did not overreach for a defensive tackle that was just going to eat space. It was corner because we want to stop the pass. We have an offense that will probably get teams to try and throw it. And if we can stop that, we can just lean on these games and we can win them all the time. So they want to pass and stop the pass. And, the last two first rounds have been about passing. This one and the rounds right after were about stopping the pass, and I think it fits right in with what they normally do.
Jeremy, when we get to the mandatory June minicamp, normally the top storyline is, okay, here's all the new players. No, it's Cook. Is he there? What does he have to say? And if you're kind of just starting here with the draft, it was actually Joe Marino on your show that sold me on this point. No, don't waste a pick on a running back this year if you intend on keeping Cook, because you're not going to house 4 running backs, or it would be difficult. My question here is, where do you think the Cook story goes from here?
I think he plays, and this is one of those things that I think Bean is good at, and where you saw a different side of him, getting testy or getting angry or standing up for what he believes in, however you want to say that. Like Bean, what's part of his denial? And this is a Cook point. He's like, I'd love to have everything. I'd love to have a this and a this and this. He's good at the sales part of that. I'd love to have this. And for the last couple of weeks, it's been love Jimbo, love to have him, love everything, love this guy. But there's a number there. They would have loved to have Gabe Davis, and there was a number, and they're like, we don't value you like that. So by the time this gets to next year, now Cook has options, and the Bills can say we like this number, and Cook can say, all right, well, let me see what everybody else thinks about it. So the difference between right now with Cook and next year with Cook is next year with Cook, he's got all the options to go see what he's worth, and I would anticipate the Bills are willing to let him see. To be totally honest, they might bring him back, or they might just let him see what those options are. So that is the next big decision he has to make. And what would you do? We're the number one offense. Any running back can do it. I don't know if he thinks that or not. That's a good question. I think that they should pay Cook. I don't know about 15, but I pay Cook good money. He's an explosive player. He adds a lot to their offense, and I think the NFL has kind of moved back towards running backs not as franchise cornerstones, but very much as finishing pieces. I forget who it was. It might have been Scott Pianowski at Yahoo who made the comparison for me that I liked, which was a running back is like having a closer in baseball. They're useless on a bad team. But if you're good, you definitely want one. And I think that applies to the Eagles. I think that applies to the Ravens. I think that applies to the Packers going and getting Josh Jacobs. Like the rehabilitation of the running back image, it all came on good teams. You didn't see any bad team to show you that running backs matter. It was all good teams. And the Bills are good. So Cook has a finishing piece with an elite offensive line. That's how you use your line the best, is to give them someone that's that good. And that's how you use Cook the best. 2 years in a row, he's finished top 10 in yards over expected per play. He's there with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's well behind like Barkley and Henry, but still he's provably good, and I do think he is worth keeping.
Given the depth of the class this year in the draft, though, is there a missed opportunity in not taking one? I know that there would have been some roster maneuvering that would have had to happen in order to do that, but I don't know that we're going to see that kind of a class in 2026.
It's another reason I want them to keep him. They have invested a 2 3s, a 4, a 6 in trading for Hines. They've got 5 picks in running backs, and that's more picks than they've got in receivers, is it not? Or at least in the first 4 rounds. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the spots that they've overinvested. And if they pay Cook, well, then they'll stop doing that. Ray Davis is still here cheap. They can find their Ty Johnsons, who signed a 2-year deal. So another one of the reasons I want them to keep Cook is I want to keep that second-round pick next year for something else, maybe a receiver.
Jeremy, What's it like to go viral? I mean, we're doing our show yesterday, and there's your audio right there on ESPN's NFL show and everything else. What has the last 48 hours been for you and Joe?
Well, two things. You guys know what this is. I mean, I didn't exactly try to tell the GM how to do his job. I didn't really cross him. There wasn't even really much of an argument, but it sure sounded like one. And because of that, I've got a lot of Bills fans that, want to call me a clown and are mad at me. That happens. That'll happen. And the other thing that happens is, you go on the First Take shows. I didn't go on, but they played the clip. And Eric Mangini and Nick Wright called the show Jerry and Joe 100 times.
Yeah. That's great when they do that. Love when they do that.
It's fine. No, I think the reality is, and part of it is, now that we're on YouTube, like, you guys have been doing video for a while, that makes it much more likely to go viral. And Joe and I were talking about this today. One of the biggest misconceptions is that we want that. In reality, I don't get anything from that other than more people being mad at me. So, like it was all over NFL.com. GM fires back at radio host critical of draft. And I'm like, I wasn't even critical of the draft.
Correct.
And I asked a question about the middle rounds.
Correct.
So it's fine. It's kind of cool. I think it's a good moment it's good radio, a good moment for, people that are invested in this team, and a good debate.
Well, it's great having you on with us today, Jeremy. Thanks for making time. We know how busy you are. We'll look forward to hearing you and Joe again tomorrow morning in the Odyssey app at WGR. And I'm telling you, don't be surprised if you get that phone call and it's Bean on the other. You know what? I want to extend an apology. You got time this afternoon? We're going to go play Oak Hill while we're at camp.
Yeah, well, I'm headed to the driving range right now. Make sure I'm in proper form. Got to get my game right.
Jeremy, you're the best. Appreciate the time, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. There's Jeremy White. Jerry White.
Jeremy
White.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah. Jeremy White. How you can hear him on Odyssey's WGR Odyssey Sports sister station. And yeah, all over the place with that Brandon Bean audio from earlier this week.
It is like, he's right though. Like, fires back and critical. Like, no, it was just kind of a point. And Brandon Bean took the driver's wheel there, took the wheel, and like, okay, I'm going to start out. Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? Jerry. It reminded me of Jerry Jones going on radio and telling the host, no, listen to me. I'm going to tell you what you don't know, in controlling the message. And again, if you believe, and I do, that there isn't any accidents. I mean, he was emotional, and maybe that wasn't intended, but the messaging behind his aggravation in that moment was clear to me. The defense needs to step up, and they don't have any excuses because we invested heavily in this draft on defense. And to Jeremy's point, we probably wanted a wide receiver, but we couldn't get one. For one reason or the other, we couldn't get one when we wanted to get one. So defense needs to step up. Offense is going to be fine.
Is it Brandon Bean is the decision maker, but does he have to take the ultimate input from Terry Pegula? If Mr. Pegula said, hey, like there's a receiver there in 2, 3, 4 that you could have gotten.
Yeah. I love wondering about whether or not the owner has input, right? We spent time earlier this week talking about whether or not, Jimmy Haslam made the call on Shedeur Sanders.
But that I don't even think is debatable. And we'll ask Spencer German.
A fifth-round pick, like it's a fifth-round pick at this point, and you've got the owner saying, go get this guy. I want to believe, I'm going to choose to believe in the instance of the Buffalo Bills, short of a franchise quarterback, that they're going to let him have his way, that they're going to let Brandon Bean have his way, that Terry is, he might offer insight, he might offer an opinion, but ultimately it's Bean making the call. And that's the way I think it should be. That's how I think smart organizations run. The owners own the team, but they let their football guys who do this for a living make the picks. Terry shouldn't be making the picks. But you want his input on a franchise quarterback? Yes. On a franchise guy? Yes. But on trading a first-round pick? Yes. You probably want to seek his counsel before you pull the trigger on a deal like that.
It's funny. If Josh Palmer is who we think he is, and one of these two guys, either Kincaid or Coleman, takes a step forward, we're not – it'll be one of those, remember that? Yeah.
So much time talking about it, and it's like the offense is going to be okay. They got a great offensive line. They've got the MVP behind center. It is the defense. The defense needs to be better. The defense needs to come up with timely stops. They can't give up 30-plus points a game. They need to be better.
Will we have another time where the offense is going to come back intact like the way it is this year? Okay, you sub in Palmer for Cooper. That's really it. You're going to have a different third tight end on this team. Okay, the offensive line, left to right, the same 3 running backs, same MVP quarterback.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, point around the league and tell me where you have that. It's rare that you have what they've built as far as the offensive line, the continuity that they have there, and on the offensive side of the ball as a whole. So there's a lot to be optimistic about with the offense of the Buffalo Bills. It's the defense, and I think that's why Bean is getting testy. Probably wanted to add a wide receiver, couldn't get a wide receiver, invested on defense. Defense needs to step up. Spencer German will join us from Cleveland in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk a little bit about that draft for the Cleveland Browns and what Gino has dubbed the most interesting quarterback competition in the NFL. I believe
All time.
Of all time.
Of all time. We have hot uniform talk coming up next.
No, you hit me with the White Sox yesterday, and I don't know that I can take much more hot uniform talk, but hit me.
If there's something that can top Jeremy White, it's hot uniform talk.
Correct.
Regarding the Buffalo Bills?
Oh,
What?
whoa. Okay.
Whoa.
Quick break. We'll
Ooh.
come back with some hot uniform talk. Spencer German joining us in the 4 o'clock hour as well. Your calls are always welcome. You can join us at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
Amherst with a chance to wrap this up quick. Tomorrow night, it's Game 3 of the best-of-5. Rochester going for the sweep in Syracuse. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks will have your call here on The Fan beginning tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. On the Major League scoreboard, Game 1 of a doubleheader. Cardinals over the Reds by a 6-0 score. Games that are in progress right now, it's the Tigers leading the Astros 7-3. They're in the bottom of the 6th. Rockies are up on the Braves 2-1 as they head to the 5th. The Dodgers get a homer from Max Muncy for nothing. They lead the Marlins. They're in the top of the 4th. Yankees tonight in Baltimore. The Mets hosting Arizona. The Rochester Red Wings dropping the opener of their 6-game series against Lehigh Valley. Same two teams tonight out at Innovative Field. 2 buckets for the price of 1 today. You can get that at getmyperks.com to Big Oak Driving Range. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
We're back. Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us this afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app. Our new enhanced YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Enhanced, why? Because I've got a digital backdrop now. Not just a hole in the wall. It looks great. Thanks, Derek the Pizza Dude. Thank you, Dylan.
He took great pride in that. Walk by Derek right now, and he's like, what do we think of the monitor? I'm like, it's bright. We love it.
Looks fantastic. Love how it looks on camera. Unfortunately, I'm standing in front of it to screw it all up, but we appreciate you stopping by the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch. Great conversation last hour with Jeremy White from WGR, who gave us a little peek behind the curtain in the aftermath of his conversation with Bills GM Brandon Beane that went viral on Monday, and Spencer German from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, stops by the Sports Bar here in about 20 minutes.
In your cell phone, all these numbers you save over the years. What's the name? What's the celebrity that you have? You're like, oh, that's interesting.
I mean, I don't know that I have the actual number, but like I've got voice messages saved from different like pop stars. Like I remember, I want to say it was Ariana Grande left me a message once. I might have an Ariana Grande message saved somewhere.
Thank you for playing my hits. Play them more. Like basically,
right. Yeah, just a hey, thank you for your support. And every now and then they get gun to their head. They get told that they have to do that and reach out to people, schmucks like me that work in Rochester that, just, hey, he's been really supportive. Man, that's a tough one.
Well, the point being, and for me, I would say it's John Sterling. Just we could probably call him right now and be like, hello.
Boeheim.
Yes. Oh, Boeheim you have.
I have Boeheim. I'm not going to abuse that. I know some of you think I would. I would never do that.
No, we wouldn't do that. Here's my point. Because the story in the NFL today, and this is a story that I'm sure they didn't want to have legs, but they had to come down with some discipline. I suggested yesterday, hey, Ulbrich, you need to be suspended. Maybe it's for the spring practices. The NFL had a different idea. We're fining you $100,000, $250,000 to the Falcons, which in the big scheme isn't a lot, but I know owners don't like to lose money. And yes, coordinators in the NFL these days make 7 figures, but I'm sure it's a major embarrassment and to relive this in the news cycle. But how's this not happened until now, I guess? Data breach? I honestly,
I actually,
college kids get drunk and do stupid things.
This is a nice return to form. This is some really peak early 90s, late 80s juvenile behavior. Me being 12, I would love for the Jerky Boys to have some kind of renaissance. This is as close to it as I think we will get. I don't know what that call was like, but I like to imagine that, Ulbrich's friend who delivered the call to Shedeur Sanders went into full-blown Saul Rosenberg or Frank Rizzo mode and got Shedeur at least thinking for a second that maybe he actually got drafted.
Hey, this is Brandon Beane from the Buffalo Bills, and Shedeur, I know we already have a quarterback, but would you be willing to come? Now there's as many as 10 players, including Abdul Carter, who says he was pranked.
Yeah.
So is this just It sounds like to me, because I had the similar experience years ago, that this was
With Mr. Fat Ass?
Mr. Fat Ass. Like when you're in college and you're just hanging around and you're drinking.
When you're kids. Kids are kids. Jax. Gene says not a real name. Jax, not a real name.
Jax makes Jack look like a real name.
Jack is not a real name either, though.
No, Jack is not.
Jack's
most certainly not a real name.
Correct. Yeah, he's a 21-year-old kid, and he's probably hanging out with his buddies. And his buddies probably know, like, oh, your old man's a defensive coordinator. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I got Shadur's number. I've got all these numbers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's one way to impress your college buddies, your frat brothers. I think that
Hello, may I speak to Mr. Fat Ass, please? Hello?
Who is this?
Who is this?
Yeah,
Mr. Fat Ass. What you said on Monday night? Click.
Yeah. I mean, this is a tale as old as time. Radio stations used to do the prank calls all the time. All the time. Bob Costas was the one that always got the most pissed off. Costas, man, he could not handle the prank calls.
Oh, really? I gotta look. Is this online or?
Yeah, if you called Costas at off hours and you got his number, I mean, Costas was not cool with it. Not happy to be receiving phone calls from radio stations. But the fine, I mean, with the Falcons is like, guys, can we get through an off season where we're not getting punished for something that we did around the draft?
So last year it was tampering for Kirk Cousins. I want to say 3 years ago was fake crowd noise that got popped for. Like, Arthur, do you not like money?
Yeah. To tell me you're an unserious franchise without telling me you're an unserious franchise. You're getting fined for pumping in crowd noise, tampering with a guy that, played all of 10 games for you last year? And now this.
Who, by the way,
Falcons.
Still a Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll see anything change with that until later this summer at the earliest.
Is that Pittsburgh's plan B?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gun to head. You going Rodgers or Kirk Cousins in 2025?
I'm sorry. The executive producer not only says it's an okay bet, she is saying we're going to win that bet walking away here now that the Steelers have.
You didn't need to tell me that. I like the executive producer, and I hate to tell her when she's wrong. I don't want to be the one to say, I don't want a high step when Rodgers announces his retirement.
Well, you did that last Thursday at Three Heads. You heard the reaction, so.
Oh, that was more the reaction to the chimes. The chimes mean something is coming. And for everybody half listening right now, Aaron Rodgers has not announced his retirement as of yet.
Everybody sits right up. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Danger, the NFL is so good at owning the news cycle, right? But this one, I think they screwed up. They could have rolled this out much better. Did you know the Buffalo Bills are finally getting an alternate uniform? Yes, this is true, and I'm guessing you probably missed it. How could you have missed it? Because Nike dropped it during the draft on Friday night. Here's the thing I know about Friday night. It's busy. There are a lot of things going on. In fact, if you're talking about stories from the draft, uniforms, yeah, kind of down on the list, okay? But this is from the Nike release talking about the new rivalry uniform. The Buffalo Bills are one of the 8 teams selected to be part of the rivalries for 2025's NFL season. The first wave of participating teams hail from the AFC East and the NFC West. It's got to be a throwback, right? This is finally meaning we're getting the red helmets and we're talking about a rivalry uniform.
I wouldn't go that fast or that far.
Oh, no.
This is Nike.
No, I don't want to color rush
The
crap.
Nikeification of the Buffalo Bills is coming. What does it look like? Who can say? Nike will design something. Do you like or do you not like how the Oregon Ducks are propped up every week with a different uniform?
So this is going to be something that we don't recognize, kind of like Baseball City Connects, like, hey, it's Buffalo and the Jets coming up on Monday Night Football, but nope, what is that? Oh, you can buy these right now.
Right. I think you're one of two types of fans. You're a type of fan that sees what Oregon does, and you say, wow, that looks pretty cool. That's cool. They have different uniforms and they mixing chrome and
But that's their
they
brand,
look
though.
fast. Well, it's Nike.
That's their right.
It's Nike. I mean, it's Nike investing in that program, and that is their brand. And now Nike doing, if you're against that, if you see that, and you're like, Oregon's uniform's hideous, too much, don't like it. Well, be prepared to be disappointed because I have a feeling they're going to Nike-fy the Buffalo Bills. I don't think you're getting a throwback. I don't think you're getting the red helmet. I think you're getting a Nike-fied version of what the Buffalo Bills are at present.
Like some sort of winter white or something.
Yeah, and I also think that you say they missed an opportunity. I think we just figured out where their line is, right? Like we were making fun of them on Thursday night for announcing the announcement of their schedule. We're going to tell you when we're going to announce the schedule. We're not going to announce anything having to do with the schedule. We're like, okay, that's where we're at with the NFL. We're announcing announcement dates. We're not announcing anything of substance. So this is where the line is. Like they're going to say, we're going to make this announcement, but we're not going to show you anything.
Okay.
Because there's no substance behind the announcement other than this is something that's coming. We're teasing it. When you see it, you'll know it, and your team is going to be involved.
So there's going to be some random day in June that, okay, coming up on Tuesday, we are going to unveil. So basically, it's the announcement of an unveil. Is that what we're looking at?
Well, they didn't give a date.
No,
when they would do
it's
it.
an announcement that we've got the announcement of the date coming.
Yeah.
And that date will have the unveil.
Yeah.
An announcement of unveil.
This is the tease.
Okay,
this
then
is how they get you.
I'm wrong. The NFL didn't lose the news cycle. Completely wrong.
They'll get it. They'll get it out to us at a time when we least expect it. And I have a feeling if they reveal them, when they reveal them, that a lot of people are going to, you're going to represent one of two ways. You're going to be the person that loves the way the Oregon Ducks look on a weekly basis, or you're going to be the person that hates the way they look on a weekly basis, and that's what that uniform is going to be polarizing.
Brad in Rochester joining us. Hey, Brad.
Hey. You know what? You can ultimately see. I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, they showed the new third alternative, which was the black with chicken wing orange numbers on it.
No.
And you can see them going, it's chicken wing orange and black, and there you go.
I don't see it.
For the Bills.
I don't see it.
Oh, gosh, I hope that's not.
I mean, I want to give them a little bit more credit than that. I mean, if you look hard enough, you can find different graphic designers and artists, and thanks for the call, Brad, appreciate you, that will take liberties with the current team logo and design their own logo, or, hey, this is what the logo should be. And some of them are actually really good, but none of them are being taken seriously. Like, none of them are being taken seriously by anybody that has the ability to make that change. So if there is something circulating, like an alternate for Buffalo, where you're using even colors that aren't in their universe, orange for the Buffalo wing.
Yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, where I'm thinking, this must mean throwback. Okay, the 3 of the 4 teams already have a throwback. One wears it full time in the Jets in that division.
Well, the Bills use their throwback helmet from time to time, right, with the standing buffalo.
Haven't done that in a few years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, has Josh Allen even worn the standing buffalo?
I feel like
I don't think he has.
Really.
No.
Josh objects to the standing buffalo, and therefore they will not wear the standing buffalo.
Look, I mean, if they announce this, what's the fun going to be, coming up for the
blue and the red?
Blue and the red.
Wait, what did he wear last year? I can't remember. Did he bring out a red helmet?
It was blue. It was metallic blue.
Oh, the chrome blue.
Yeah, chrome blue.
Yeah. Don't tease us with things that'll never happen. Or maybe they will. Who knows?
No, but Brad's right, though. Like some of these alternate baseball uniforms, and there's another one unveiled. We'll get to that in shots. We had the one from the White Sox yesterday. We're going to dress up and cosplay as the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah,
Why
that's
not?
what a minor league baseball team does.
Yeah.
They take the identity of another team for a night. So the White Sox are a minor league ball team. We shouldn't be surprised that they're taking on the identity of the Bulls for a night.
Who's your favorite baseball team, Danger?
The Cubs.
Oh, okay. Cubs fan, everyone pointing out the faults of the White Sox.
I don't have to point out the faults. They were the worst team in history last year. They're not. They're a minor league team. There should be right now. The Colorado Rockies are a minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
There should be relegation in Major League Baseball. These teams shouldn't exist. They should be playing in the minor leagues, and we should promote the minor league teams that are actually really good. I know that would screw everything up. I'm just making a point that the White Sox
would be very upset.
The White Sox are an unserious organization. They played like a minor league team last year, and this year they're going to look like a minor league team when they wear those Bulls uniforms. But the NFL is going to do what the NFL does, and this is just another one of those things. Hey, we got to partner with Nike, and we're gonna manufacture a rivalry series, and here's what they're gonna wear, and here's what it's gonna look like. It's fine, whether you like them or not. I like some of the alternates. I didn't like the Minnesota Vikings all white or the Packers all white. I thought that was a little bit much because you've just never seen them do that before. If there was an element of a throwback in there, then I maybe would like it a little bit more. But I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah. This story, Danger, did you see this? And I don't know if there's more to this story, but I guess we'll find out. So, John Elway was golfing with some buddies over the weekend, right? Not a story, right? Well, this is what happened. 3 other guys, and one of the guys he was golfing with was his former agent and former business partner, current business partner. His name is Jeff Spurback. Elway is driving the cart. Spurback is on the back of the cart and somehow falls off the back of the cart and hits his head.
Oh.
Today, Spurback, they pulled the plug. 62.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's terrible.
According to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, they're investigating this. TMZ is reporting there is no indication that Elway was driving negligently.
In a golf cart.
On a golf cart.
You have to really try to drive negligently in a golf cart. If you're going too fast around a curve or a turn or something like that, down a hill.
I could see that you don't know somebody's going and maybe he's got his foot and he's standing on the back there and then, and you're not. It's just a terrible story.
I hate that story. And they're not going to. Are they investigating Elway as far as.
They're investigating the incident.
Uh-huh.
Like somebody dies because of a golf cart. Okay, tell me more.
Right. Sure. A couple of pops probably involved here, I would imagine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a major bummer, and I would hate for John Elway or anybody to have to go through that, and, of course, for somebody to lose their life.
Generally speaking, you're driving anything, right? You could be driving while it doesn't have to be a vehicle,
yeah,
right?
I'm not sure.
Maybe some attorney can tell us. Do you have to be on the road, or does that not apply if you're driving a golf cart?
Yeah, what's the liability if you're the golf course? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. I would have a lot of curiosity around that. So we'll see what that investigation unearths. We'll talk to Spencer German. He's from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. But he's our Rochester guy, so we love him. We're proud of him. We love having Spencer on to talk Cleveland sports and the Browns specifically, given what they did in the NFL draft and the selection of Shedeur Sanders. Outside of that, a really good draft, I think, for the Cleveland Browns as well. So we'll get his take on not just Sanders, but the entirety of that draft and what it means for the Browns and their future. And the Cavs are pretty good, too. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of NBA.
Did that even happen? That Cleveland-Miami series? Did it? I don't even know.
Yeah. Spencer German next on The Fan Rochester.
Game 3 of the best of 5 in Syracuse. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks will have your call beginning at 7 here on The Fan. On the Major League scoreboard on this getaway Wednesday, Game 1 of a doubleheader, seeing the St. Louis Cardinals take out the Reds, 6-0 the score. Game's in progress. Bottom of the 7th, Tigers up in Houston by a 7-4 score. The Rockies looking for win number 5 on the season. They're up against Atlanta 2-1. They're in the top of the 6th. Dodgers doubling up the Marlins 4-2. They're in the 5th. After 1, it's the Angels leading the Mariners 1-0. Yankees sending Cookie Carrasco to the mound tonight as they are in Baltimore. The Mets will be taking on Arizona. Rochester Red Wings tonight once again at the stadium taking on Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Always love catching up with a guy with the 585 area code doing great things in the city of Cleveland for our Odyssey Sports sister station 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. Good to welcome in Spencer German back into the sports bar. Spencer, I'm sure you've had nothing to talk about over the course of the last week. The NFL draft comes to a conclusion. The slide of Shedeur Sanders was certainly the story leading up to his pick finally in the 5th round by your Cleveland Browns. Welcome back into the sports bar.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's been certainly an eventful week and an eventful couple of days since the Browns pulled the trigger on Shedeur. So, I started jokingly texted you yesterday, Gene. What are we going to talk about? I can only imagine. So, it's definitely a storyline that's dominating the airwaves and the sports scene right now.
Yeah, isn't it funny? Because normally we would be talking, oh my gosh, the Browns traded down, and that's almost like, and we'll get to that, but obviously when you have the slide of Shedeur Sanders and you have the Browns already having this full quarterback room, let's start here. Do you subscribe to the theory that was an owner dictate? Because judging just by the reactions of the GM and your head coach, just the polite applause here, and judging by the fact that you already drafted a quarterback before then, like the idea that we can't leave Shedeur Sanders standing out there here in round 5.
So I do think the owner was in play here a little bit. Like I don't the reaction thing on TV. I understand why everybody read into that. Andrew Berry sort of said, and Kevin sort of said the same thing. Like when that camera cuts to them, they're not always aware that it's going to them. And I do believe that like that's the case. Like they may have just not known that they were going to be on the camera at that exact time. But I still can't get past the fact that like you alluded to, they drafted a quarterback 50 picks earlier. Clearly, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, he was out talking about Dylan Gabriel when they made the pick, and he was like gushing about the guy. Like it became pretty obvious that this is a guy that he loved during the process, is really excited to work with, thinks he fits the offense and what they want to do. So for them to have that versus then come out and be like, well, hey, we also took Shedeur Sanders, and talk about how they think he's going to maximize the potential of where they picked him. But it's like there's only one quarterback, right? So I don't know how they believe that if they took Dylan Gabriel several picks earlier, because that's essentially insinuating if he's going to maximize the potential where they took him, that's essentially insinuating Dylan Gabriel's not going to get the starting job at some point, which is what you would hope if you're taking a guy in the 3rd round, I guess. So it's an interesting situation. I don't know that it was like Jimmy has them demanding they take him, but it does feel like maybe it got to a point where maybe I get the sense that he probably liked Shedeur Sanders, liked his conversations with Deion Sanders when they went and visited him, and they did do a lot of homework on the Colorado guys. So I think it just maybe got to a point where Jimmy Haslam maybe spoke up and said, listen, I like this kid. It's worth it at this pick. What's it going to take to go get him? And they all kind of decided, hey, let's go do it. So I don't know if it was like forcing the issue or that people need to be freaked out. And let's face it, like if an owner is going to interject and about a player that maybe he likes, the 5th round isn't going to kill you if that's the place you do it on a guy that clearly had more value than where he was taken. So I believe there's probably some conversation with the owner involved there, but there are a lot of people saying the opposite, that this was Andrew Berry and Andrew Berry alone.
All right, so one pick that we can look at and say, okay, that was impactful. The Browns getting out of the Travis Hunter business, trading away 2. Were you surprised by that move with Jacksonville willing participant and Cleveland getting a haul of picks for a guy that a lot of people believe is a generational talent?
Yeah, I was surprised mostly because in the weeks leading up to the draft, it felt very much like Travis Hunter, was going to be the pick. So when push came to shove and they were on the clock, for them to then announce that they were trading back, it was definitely surprising, the idea that, hey, they had been sort of flirting with him for weeks now, and all of a sudden they passed up the opportunity to draft him. But was I surprised? I would say no. Listen, like this team, I think when Jimmy Haslam spoke at the owners' meetings and used the phrase, digging themselves out of the situation they're in with Deshaun Watson, I feel like that was an admission that they know where they're at, that they know this wasn't going to be a quick fix. He also mentioned not forcing the issue with the quarterback thing. They were going to take their time and sort of figure that out. So I think in understanding that coming into this draft process, it felt like that this was a possibility, that they could trade out, get as many draft picks as possible, try to maximize the potential of that number 2 overall pick, and set themselves up next year to potentially take that franchise guy if they think that's the case. Andrew Berry talked a couple weeks ago about how they sort of analyze these quarterbacks 2 years out, or I guess 2 years at a time. So while they're looking at the 2025 class, they are also looking ahead a little bit and starting to scout the 2026 class. So they have a sense of what that class could look like. And I'm assuming they probably feel better about that class than they do this class. And so as fans argued with me about the idea that, well, hey, if they don't take a quarterback at 2, then they're setting themselves up for failure. How do they know they're going to draft early on the board next year? That's all very true. There's a lot that still has to play out. But if you get a second first-round pick, I mean, that's the ultimate way to move up the board, right? Like, you give yourself a chance to, even if you finish with 8 wins miraculously and you're not necessarily in the top 10, you have that second first round pick that you can package to move up into the top 10 and potentially get the guy you want. So I think they did themselves a favor. I think they did a nice job of sort of maximizing that pick, because I still think Mason Graham is going to be a hell of a player. But obviously, if he's going to forever be compared to Travis Hunter, and if Travis Hunter goes on to have a Hall of Fame career, people might look back on it and feel a little bit differently about it.
Yeah, we're talking to Rochester native Spencer German, now in Cleveland, covering all Cleveland sports, 92.3 The Fan. Spencer, that was the first thing that crossed my mind, oh, wow, the Browns have the collateral maybe to get their quarterback next year, because who knows how Jacksonville, what the value of that first-round pick would be, unless, and here would be my advice, don't waste a single second with Kenny Pickett. Do not waste a single second with Joe Flacco. They're never going to lead you. Should we expect just the 2 rookie quarterbacks? I mean, how do you envision the whole spring, much less the preseason playing out for Cleveland? Because Kenny Pickett, you're wasting time here. This should be our Browns fans. Let me see Sanders, let me see Gabriel, and show me something. Can you make an honest evaluation on either of those quarterbacks in just 1 year?
So I honestly think they are going to start the year with one of those veterans that you mentioned starting. I don't know which one. That's going to sort of play out, I think, in the months ahead. And I think the main reason for that is I think they're going to go into the season trying to sort of sell everybody, the players that are coming back, guys like Myles Garrett, that they are trying to win and that they are trying to take this season seriously. But I do think at some point, because I'm envisioning the season probably isn't going to go very well, they will have to pivot. And I think you pivot to the rookies then at that point, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's Sanders, they owe it to themselves to see as much of both of those guys, assuming they both make the roster, as possible, because that's going to set the stage for, do you have somebody that you think can maybe be that franchise quarterback for you, or are you going to be doing whatever you can to find that quarterback in the 2026 draft? So I do think at some point we're going to see those guys. The big question for me is if because they have 4 quarterbacks obviously right now, and that's normal for the offseason for them. But when they cut it down to 3 at the end of training camp, who is the odd man out? Is it Shador because he's a 5th-round pick, and 5th-round picks are fighting for roster spots anyway, and they try to maybe sneak him onto the practice squad? I don't know. I mean, if he has a great preseason, maybe they can't do that, right? Maybe they won't be able to get away with that. So I sort of am inclined to believe that by the end of training camp, they will try to shop one of Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett and just have one veteran at the top of the group and then the 2 rookies and see what kind of happens. This is something Andrew Berry's done the last 2 years. He traded Josh Dobbs at the end of training camp in 2023 and got, I think, a 5th-round pick for him. He did the same thing this past year, tried to shop Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley to see if anybody would bite on those, and nobody did. They ended up just having to cut Tyler Huntley. So he tends to do that, and I think there's a good chance that they try to do that again this year with one of Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett.
Spencer, if you take the level of talent aside from all of the Browns' draft picks, 4 of their 7 picks were spent on running back or quarterback. Were there other holes that needed to be filled? I mean, are the Browns that stout as of a roster where they don't need to be exploring in other places than, is their secondary good? What can you tell us about the choice to draft not just 2 quarterbacks, but also 2 running backs in this draft?
Yeah, it was weird. It was the first time a team since 2013 took 2 running backs in the first 4 rounds of a draft. I think there was another stat about it being the first time in a really long time, or maybe ever, that a team had taken 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs in a 7-round draft at the same year. So there's some interesting sort of factoids that come out of this draft and the makeup of it all for Cleveland. I ultimately like this, and they do have other holes. I actually asked Andrew Berry at the end of his end of draft press conference. I asked him about, hey, is wide receiver still something that you guys think is a work in progress? And he gave me a very non-answer of the entire roster is a work in progress, so we'll look to improve at all areas. But wide receiver was something I think people thought the Browns were going to target. I know bringing up wide receiver in Western New York right now is a touchy subject after Brandon Beane's interview earlier this week. But I think the same thing applies here in Cleveland. I do think there were some other. I think the offensive tackle was another big one that they didn't come away with in this draft that sort of surprised some people. But in the grand scheme of things, like as I'm looking back on this draft, the one thing that sort of bothers me is when they took Dillon Gabriel. I have questions about why they took Dillon Gabriel, especially in the 3rd round, because that's a guy that you're assuming is going to make the roster, and I just don't know that I think he's going to be a great NFL player. But I also, somebody brought up, like, if you change the picks around, like if you took Shedeur Sanders at 94 and then you took Dillon Gabriel at the end of the draft, I think people would honestly be like, oh, okay. Like they wouldn't think it was that bad of a draft. So I come away feeling like they had a successful draft. I don't know. Like I hate draft grades because we just don't know with these players, obviously, for a couple of years. But they addressed some needs. They did need help on the defensive front. They got a guy who can pressure from the interior, and Mason Graham, who I think is going to be fantastic playing alongside Myles Garrett. Linebacker feels like it's a bigger need because we don't know if Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to play ever again, let alone next year. And obviously quarterback, when you don't have one, you always should take bites at the apple. And I think the running back room getting revamped the way it did is massive, on top of adding a young tight end that I think can learn and really be effective in Kevin Stefanski's offense. So I do think they addressed a lot of their needs. I feel good about the moves that they made, but it was just a fluky quarterback situation where they took 2 within 50 picks of each other and one earlier than anybody expected that I think made it look like a worse draft nationally, especially, than I think people in Cleveland felt like it was.
We ask you, like every time we've had you on, a variation of this question here, but never the information changes, the situation changes. So Deshaun Watson, right? Is it just as simple as, all right, you're going on IR, we're going to stash you there, you get paid, and then at what point can they actually move on? You got to wait till 2026? Is that the best case scenario?
Yeah, so I think they've set this up now where they can cut him next year and make it a post-June 1st cut, and the cap hits for those 2 years won't be as bad as it would have been this year, which would have been like over $170 million. They would have had to figure that out. Splitting that between 2 years is a lot different. So he's going to start the year on the IR for sure. Whether or not he's ends up being healthy late in the year to come back, I guess remains to be seen. I'm going to guess they're going to try to urge him towards not returning in some capacity. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how you can get away with that in the NFL, but I'm going to guess they'll try to keep him sort of on the back burner if he does make his way back. I just don't think they want him to end up being back at some point.
Anybody want him? I don't know if that would actually work, though.
Yeah, really. But yeah, I mean, they're going to sort of figure they'll have to navigate that if the time comes, if he's actually ready to go. And right now they just give very vague answers on it's too early to tell what his situation is going to look like by the end of the year. So we'll see. But I do think they sort of just try to get through this year. And then, around this time next year, obviously a little earlier when the new league year begins, I'm assuming we're going to be talking about Deshaun Watson that gets cut and is designated as a post-June 1st cut. And then the Browns will finally be able to sort of rid themselves of what's the worst trade in NFL history by all accounts.
Spencer, I want to ask you about a divisional rival because I'm still scratching my head wondering what their plan is at quarterback. What are the Steelers doing? Is Will Howard a quality NFL quarterback based on what you've seen out of his play from Ohio State? And do you think the Steelers right now are still kind of holding out hope that they can maybe pry Aaron Rodgers to come to Pittsburgh and pry him away from his life for less than the $10 million that he thinks he's worth this year?
It certainly sounds that way. That we just had on the station this morning Steelers reporter who, implied that they feel pretty good about the idea that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign at some point. It's just a matter of when he gets through, the personal life checklist he has that he's trying to get done before he does, I guess. And I'm sure some of this is like he doesn't want to have to show up for like the voluntary stuff and be scrutinized for all that and whatever else. So who knows with him, but it does sound like they feel pretty good about him eventually signing there and that he's going to, it's just kind of a matter of time. But as far as Will Howard's concerned, I don't know that Will Howard's going to be like a great NFL quarterback, but I liked him as a prospect. I like where he went, 6th round, 5th round, 6th round, I think would have made sense for him. In terms of value, I don't know that I would have invested a higher pick than that in him, but, and part of this is like my Ohio State bias, I'm sure, but I felt like, there's a guy in there who's a really good leader, gritty, like he has all those intangibles. I think the fact that during the playoff run was when he looked his best, like he was throwing some pinpoint passes and really airing it out a little bit, making all the throws, like that was, I think, pretty telling. Now, you always have to throw in the context with him that he had maybe the greatest skill positions around him. He had one of the best teams in terms of skill positions around him in college football history. Maybe only Joe Burrow's LSU team from several years ago is like rivals it. Like that group was so good that there is some context there of like they made him look better than he might be. But if the Browns hadn't taken Shedeur Sanders or if they waited on a quarterback, I would have been totally fine with them taking a flyer on somebody like Will Howard in the 5th or 6th round because I think there's a player in there that can maybe do some things. Maybe he becomes like a backup for you. I don't know if he's going to be like a great starter, but I'm intrigued to see how his career kind of evolves, and I do think Pittsburgh's a place where maybe he gets a shot to do something and become something.
You can hear Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland. We are proud that he is a Rochester native. Spencer, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Let's touch on some other things happening in Cleveland, namely the Cavs, which that was really painful to kind of watch that series against Miami. I don't know if it's Cleveland's that great or if Miami I'd just be done with the play-in. But now you get the Pacers. So where is the city at right now with the Cavs? What is the level of excitement? Because as I mentioned before, the only thing I can kind of compare this to is the one year they actually won it when I was in Cleveland for a weekend, and it was all Cavs all the time. Are fans starting to get excited here about the Cavaliers here in the second round?
Yeah, there's a lot of comparisons made, like with teams in town, where it's like, why aren't people more supportive of the Cavaliers who have like given you this great season, and they just are busy talking about the Browns who gave you the worst trade in NFL history? So there's a lot of that commentary going on throughout this season. People are definitely very excited. I think we all kind of figured. You always got to take the Heat seriously because just with their expulsion, you never know. But I think people sort of understood that series probably was going to go the Cavs' way. I don't think I saw anybody predict them to lose. I think everybody pretty much predicted them to win in at least 5 games. So yeah, I think that was kind of, I don't want to say like a snooze fest, but I think it was kind of just like an appetizer for fans. I think this is the series where things kind of ramp up a little bit because this Indiana team has the ability to give the Cavs some trouble in some certain areas. They're a very fast-paced team. So we'll see what they sort of bring to the table. I think everyone's kind of anticipating they get to this one, though, and then the big showdown will obviously be with Boston in the next round, assuming both teams advance. So, but yeah, there's a lot of excitement. I think next round it'll feel even more real if they get that far. But certainly a lot of people excited about a potential long playoff run here for the Cavs, especially doing it for the first time really without LeBron. So.
I know it's not something you're probably going to talk about on the Fan, but we are keeping tabs on your hockey team as well. I want to see how the Monsters are faring against Laval at the AHL level because there's a good chance that the Amherst might be seeing them in the conference or in the divisional finals.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of excitement about the Monsters. Like, I don't know if Cleveland would – I don't know. I think they could support an NHL team if they got one, but I actually think like the Monsters being here is like the perfect fit. It's like it's a level down. It gives you a chance to still like care about the sport. They do some really cool promotions and they have some really cool like special uniform stuff they do. And I know people get into it. I have a bunch of friends who like go to a lot of Monsters games. I actually know the guy who does the PA for them. So yeah, there's definitely. Some excitement about that team, and it's nice to see the town sort of rally around that. There's always the running joke that the year the Cavs won the finals was also the year that the Monsters won the Calder Cup. So it was kind of like this big thing of like it was the Cleveland's championship year was like that year, and obviously the Indians almost won the World Series that same year. So that was a lot of fun. But we'll see if they can replicate that with the Cavs in the the Monsters doing the same thing here coming down the pike in a couple months.
Yeah, we'll be paying attention. Laval at Cleveland. Danger, how weird is this? That's a best of 5, but Laval's on the road for games 1 and 2. Spencer, I can't figure out this league, how they schedule things.
Yeah, I don't. So it's they do 2 and 2, 2, 2 and 1 is basically what it is.
No, it's 2 and 3. So it's so Laval had. I mean, to cut down on travel, I guess. Not that Montreal to Cleveland's that big a hike, but regardless, if the Amerks win, they will get the winner of that series. Spencer, tell our listeners when they can catch you on the Fan in Cleveland.
Yeah, so my one show for sure each week is on Saturdays, 8 to noon. But around that, I fill in quite a bit. I think I'm filling in a couple weeks from now coming up on the our afternoon show 2 to 7. So it's kind of sporadic, but you can find me there. You can also find me in the Locked On Browns podcast as well. So that's available wherever you get your podcast. But I always appreciate you coming on with you guys. Thanks.
Is that new, Spencer, the Locked On Browns piece? Have you been doing that for a while?
As of, I think it was like week 15 of the season I took over, so fairly new, yes.
Fantastic.
But, yeah, so that's another platform I've been able to accumulate here, which has been a lot of fun so far.
Congratulations on that, man. Keep it up. You're making us proud, and appreciate the time as always.
You guys know anytime, man. Appreciate you guys.
Spencer German, stopping by the Sports Bar. The Locked On Browns podcast and 92.3 The Fan, our Odyssey Sports sister station in Cleveland.
I wouldn't waste a single second with Kenny Pickett nor Joe Well, you have to start with the veteran. The clock is ticking on both these guys because the Browns have the opportunity in what we all think is a better quarterback draft class night, unless you're like, whoa, we actually have something here in San Diego.
I know that everybody says keep taking a bite of the apple at quarterback if you don't have your quarterback, but you invested 2 picks this year. Are you going to invest another one next year if this year doesn't go well? The coach loves Gabriel. If the coach loves Gabriel, make Gabriel work. You got him in the 3rd round. If he's as good as the coach believes he is, they should be able to beat out Shedeur Sanders. He's a 5th-round pick.
Well, exactly. So don't even waste any time with Joe Flacco on the roster.
Kenny Pickett. My goodness. Well, it'll be exciting to watch.
So Deshaun Watson is healthy by December. How do you navigate that? He's on the 53, but you're just never activating him,
He's
right?
on IR.
But once you're healthy, you have to be activated or else you can, file a grievance.
Yeah. What a sloppy mess. My God. And the finish line appears to be a post-June 1st designation cut next season. Not this upcoming offseason, but next offseason. Just a disaster.
You know he's going to do everything he can to get on the field just to showcase himself for his next team in fall of 22.
I don't think there will be a next team. I don't know that there will be a next team.
2 Achilles tears.
2 Achilles tears on top of everything else. Saying, I don't know that there's going to be a next team for
you made your
Deshaun
money.
Watson. Happy Hour is next on the Fan Rochester. We have a round of shots coming up. We have time for your calls. If you want to join us, feel free. Pull up a stool. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326.
Amherst trying to get back to round 2, a team they've played each of the last 2 seasons. They're taking on Syracuse tomorrow night in the Salt City. It's Game 3 of the best of 5. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks will have the call tomorrow night beginning at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. Game 1 of a doubleheader on the Major League scoreboard. The Cardinals shutting out the Reds by a 6-0 score. Games in progress. Top of the 9th, Tigers up in Houston 7-4. The Braves trailing the Rockies 2-1. The Rockies 4-25 so far on the season. Dodgers are up in the Marlins 4-3. They're in the bottom of the 6th. Mariners and Angels tied at 2 in the 3rd. Padres at home up on the Giants 2-0. They're in the 3rd. Yankees tonight continuing their series in Baltimore. They're sending Cookie Carrasco to the mound. Mets hosting Arizona. Rochester Red Wings home tonight taking on Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for making us part of your afternoon drive at 95.7 FM, AM 950. And shout out to you if you're listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app or watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, where we've got an upgrade to our studio, one of the many, many large flat screen panels we have throughout our fine high-full studios here. Thanks for everybody to like, to subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
As compared to some other radio, and you travel the country here, but the one thing that our studios are, it is a very creative setting. I do love the studios.
It is an environment that is conducive to creativity. Yes, I've had people describe it as it's got like a Starbucks kind of vibe to it, but it's old, it's industrial. There's lots of exposed brick. I mean, I've worked in some dumps. I've worked in closets, in studios that were makeshift, and trust me, we have nothing to complain about here.
No, and usually when...
Except for the thermostat. We did a lot of complaining during the winter about the thermostat not working.
We will be complaining about that again because I don't know if they actually fixed it, but we'll find out. And by the way, thank you to Greg who gave us the thermometer.
Yeah.
It's still here in the studio with us. Yeah, and I always know how it's a Friday because when I come down or I come in, there is a nice new conference room, and we just did some work here renovating. And again, nice conference room, nice lighting. And on a Friday, Danger will work from home and then come in mid-afternoon and, fire up his laptop and work in the conference room on a Friday. More often than not, it's nice and quiet and lighting. And, I'm like, wait a second. I walk in and, wait, you're in there today. Today's Wednesday. I'm like, oh, that's right. Mentally for you, it's a Friday, buddy.
Got a lot of work done this morning from home. Came into the studio, and I'm like, yeah, office is going to be a little bit tough for me. I'm going to have to take my Friday office over here on a Wednesday and work from the conference room. I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited to go take in my first game at Citi Field, and I'll share details. We'll have reports. I don't know that I'll call in during the show tomorrow. Game time decision. We'll see how everything goes.
Well, yeah, if you're having fun with the guys, if you're having fun.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. My biggest concern is that I commit to making a call into the show from Citi Field.
Hey, we're just you're not driving.
Yeah.
You're on the
no,
7th
but
train.
That's not great radio. I mean, I don't need to be Barney from The Simpsons in the sports bar. I don't need to be calling up like that.
You're selling yourself short because when you throw them back, I can tell, but on air you can't tell.
Well, I mean, this is how professionals do it, right?
Yeah.
If you can, you over time build up a little bit of tolerance. I'm not going to promise anything. I'm going to tell you that if I do call tomorrow, if it's because I feel good enough to call tomorrow. If you don't hear from me tomorrow, just understand I'm having a good time, a very good time.
Yeah, and you're going to say, at some point, I see it now. Gene is right.
Oh my God!
You're going
You need to stop. This isn't how fandom works. I don't know what makes you think that any fan of a team would say, you know what, I had so much fun, I'm going to switch my allegiances and become a fan of this team. I know a lot of people will be like, I'm a fan of this team and I'm a fan of this team. I'm like, no, you have to pick one. You can't be fans of multiple NHL teams.
You're going to have FOMO tomorrow. You're missing out. You're missing out on the fun, and you're just going to be like, you're going to be around all these Mets fans, and you're going to be like, oh, man, I'm not part of the club. You're going to want to join the club.
That's not true.
You're going to want to join the club.
That's not true. I've been to fun baseball games. I've been to Wrigley Field. I know what fun baseball is about.
You're a Cubs fan. That doesn't apply, that analogy. And going up to Toronto also doesn't apply because that is just one step above going to a church, okay?
Yeah, Toronto's atmosphere is a bit sterile.
Yeah.
It's a bit sterile. Love the vibes at Rogers Center, especially with the roof open in the
summertime.
Love
the vibes of Toronto.
Yeah, great vibes. But, yeah, not an electric atmosphere, not the kind of atmosphere that I am expecting tomorrow watching a first-place team.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. First-place team. Your New York Mets.
Yeah,
Mike
with their ace on the mound as well.
Yeah. You get Senga tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we had a statement earlier from Bill Belichick, and now we have a statement on the statement.
Oh, good. I'm glad this story is continuing. Thank God.
Who's the bigger winner, Simon & Schuster or CBS This Morning?
Both. They both benefit.
They both benefit because, as you pointed out, CBS This Morning, it's a great way to start your Sunday morning.
Oh, everybody loves CBS This Morning. It's just it's a great, it's nice to have on while you're enjoying your Sunday morning cup of coffee. It's part of your routine.
CBS News, quote, when we agreed to speak to Mr. Belichick, it was for a wide-ranging interview. There were no preconditions or limitations to this conversation.
Right.
This was confirmed repeatedly with his publisher before the interview took place and after it was completed.
Right.
CBS comes buttoned up.
Yes.
You're not, this is the one. Now, you tell me, I'm going to read the statement, which, by the way, this is on North Carolina letterhead. This is actually sent out from North Carolina. Like, this is actual news?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, North Carolina put this out as a statement of the University of North Carolina and Bill Belichick.
I'm just going to read this through, Danger, and then I will be quiet. And there's so much in here that you could pick out. Anybody listening could pick out here and be like, okay, but hold your applause to the end, okay? I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to the interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the content of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised and unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter and the producers I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, whom I have a personal and professional relationship with, stepped in to reiterate the point to help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips made it appear as though we're avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about that Jordan and I met together on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics related to my career. Instead, it presents a selected edited clips and stills from just a few minutes in the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true.
All right, so I got a couple of things here, a couple of thoughts. One, this was a well-penned ChatGPT statement courtesy of Jordan Hudson. There's a tell, by the way. I don't know if you know this or not. If you use ChatGPT, if you use AI, ChatGPT specifically, I don't want to speak about other AI generators, but they love their dashes. Lots of dashes.
Yep.
Lots of dashes when you ask ChatGPT to tighten something up for you or rewrite something. Inevitably, you're going to see a lot of dashes, which most people don't use when they're writing. It's kind of a tell. I see a lot of dashes in this statement, a lot of dashes. So Jordan Hudson did a great job of plugging into ChatGPT and saying, this is what I need to get out there. It's lengthy, this statement that's on Carolina letterhead, versus the statement that was penned by CBS News, which tells you really what you need to know. CBS News, credible organization, puts out a tight statement. We would never do this interview unless we could do it the way we know we're going to do it. We covered all of our bases. So what is this really all about? It's about a guy who doesn't want to do publicity for his book. It's about a guy who only wants to talk about his book, and a controlling girlfriend who is trying to show support by being there and keeping things on the rails, if you will. Like, she's his partner in crime on this. I mean, or she's controlling him. And Bill, if you need help, blink twice and we'll send help.
We'll see the latter part. Now, the TMZ report that Jordan Hudson stormed off the set for 30 minutes, and she expected her boyfriend to follow her, which he didn't. Bill Belichick, at least he's not going to play dramatics here, or whatever you call him.
Yeah, grow up.
Yeah.
Grow up. Bill Belichick's not a child. He's not going to act. He's not going to have a tantrum. He's not going to answer the questions the way you want him to answer, because he doesn't do that. He's still Bill Belichick. I mean, the only time you ever saw Bill Belichick express any sort of charm or personality was as an analyst. He was great as an analyst. He'd give you some stuff, and you'd be like, oh, okay. He is kind of different than the persona that we grew to hate all those years as the coach of the Patriots. But this is more of that. This is him being uncomfortable in his setting, in his surrounding, and Jordan off to the side basically saying, we don't need to talk about that. We're here to talk about the book. That's it, just the book. Don't bring me into this. Don't talk about our relationship. And CBS probably did work it out through the public. Yeah, we're going to you have the interview. Go nuts. Do what you need to do. We're trying to sell books.
The way this works is whatever Bill Belichick signed with a publisher, you get what's called an advance. Okay, the deal is done. The publisher doesn't owe you anything, Bill. If you felt that strongly about it, then your lawyer or your business person or Jordan or whoever should have said, yeah, we'll do the book, but we're not going to do the publicity for the book. But that rarely happens. So both sides win. By the way, my summer reading list does not include Bill Belichick, Art of Winning.
No?
And why are you so defensive about how you met? That was a very simple question. Okay.
I'll say this. She comes off, based on the little bit that we know about her, as somebody who, when she sees something she wants, she goes and gets it. And on that flight, would you believe that it wasn't chance that they met on that flight? That she wasn't, she's reading a specific book to get the attention of a specific person who she knew was going to be on a specific flight?
Well, knowing that her family had property on Nantucket and she knows the story, and you could at least tee up there's some common ground there.
It's just a weird dynamic. It's a weird situation. I love all of it. I love all of it. I know that this isn't like sports, but just keep feeding me this nonsense between these two. Bill Belichick and his super hot 24-year-old girlfriend, who appears now to be like controlling all of his interests, including his coaching job with the University of North Carolina.
So how does this end?
It ends poorly.
So
it ends with her on a reality TV show, 3 years from now.
You mean like 15 years from now, there's not some retirement home? By the way, her ex.
Welcome to a new season of Celebrity Big Brother. This year in the house, we welcome in former lead singer of Sugar Ray, Mark McGrath. Bill Belichick harlot, Jordan Hudson. Carrot Top is in this season. Yeah, that's her future. That's where we're at.
No, she really thinks that this is going to propel her to the next stage and whatever.
Mark McGrath was already on Celebrity Big Brother. That's why I pulled that from.
Yeah.
I can't come up with random guys that quickly, but I'm sure there'd be a former NFL star on Celebrity Big Brother that Jordan can latch her hooks into down the road after Belichick kicks her to the curb. I mean, football season's coming up. Is she going to survive football season as Bill Belichick's girlfriend?
Well, here's the one thing I know about football, right? Everybody's got an opinion. You have a whole week to talk and lead up. Every time someone's going to criticize Belichick, is she going to say something. Every interview that doesn't go according to the way.
I'll give him credit as far as this. He hasn't put a ring on it.
Nor should he.
Smart. Well, you know how it can be. It's addictive, man. You can fall head over heels. But he hasn't done it yet. And I say this often. It doesn't matter no matter how attractive she is, at some point, that guy is going to get tired of her crap.
When do we have the Linda Holiday book?
What's that, his ex?
Yes.
Well, do you feel bad for Belichick's kids, too? I mean, he's got a daughter who I think is in her 40s.
Well, the daughter coaches lacrosse at some D3 school in New England. So kids, the two guys, they're kind of living off a bill.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're a 40-year-old woman. You're a head coach. You're a coach. And this woman is now meddling with your dad's life. How do you feel if you're Belichick's kids? I kind of feel a little sympathy for him, even goofy Steve.
Well, this has the makings of when Bill is not on this planet anymore. Where's the Belichick fortune go?
Be smart, Bill.
Bill, dump her now.
Be smart, Bill.
Dump her now. Do you love football more, or do you? Because or pick one of the two. Go live on Nantucket for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Stop wasting our time.
The other story that came out of the NFL today to kind of put a bow on the prank call to Shedeur Sanders, the Falcons getting fined quarter of a million. Was that what it was?
$250,000. Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, who left his iPad open or whatever it was, where the son Jax, Jax, he gets popped $100,000.
Not a real name.
No. And the story, and I learned this from listening to Eisen today, apparently Jax Ulbrich, who goes to Ole Miss, he's 21.
Oh.
He and his bros there just sitting around like, yeah, just this was it wasn't even Jax who made the call. He gave the number to someone else.
Right, his buddy.
Yeah.
He made his buddy the bad guy because his buddy's probably funnier and whatever. Like, none of that is surprising. 21 years old. Boys will be boys. You're clowning. And he's you might not like Shedeur Sanders if you're 21 years old and your dad's a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
I'm still getting texts from everybody at Fordham because that story went viral my senior year that I should be suspended for Dan Dierdorf getting pranked.
Mr. Fat Ass.
Mr. Fat Ass.
You had Dan Dierdorf in your, back then, your Rolodex.
It was just a crumpled up piece of paper on my desk that I left out there. And, And then my roommate decided when he was drunk.
Now, you asked if I had anybody famous in my contacts, and I'm sure if I did some digging, what I didn't like going through my contacts looking for famous names is I realize how many people are no longer with me that are in my contacts. Like, oh, these are people that this person's not with us anymore. Oh, this person passed away. Oh, this contact died 10 years ago. Like, still in my contacts.
Yeah.
I did dig up this. I don't know if it's going to sound good or not. Let's see.
Hey, Mike, it's Selena Gomez. I just wanted to call and thank you and your station for your continuous support with my single, Come and Get It. It's actually my highest charted single to date, and I know that it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So just wanted to call and thank you guys. I hope you have a good day. Take care.
There's Selena Gomez leaving me a voice message.
Okay,
but she sounds a little bit like she's in a situation where she's being told what to say and how to say it. She's not. I don't get this.
All right,
I don't really feel like she's appreciative of what the support means.
Okay, Selena, we just need you to do the top 75 markets, and this is only going to take 75 minutes because if you do it quicker than that, we can get this done in an hour.
Yeah.
Go, hi, Mike, it's Selena. Hi, John. Hi, David.
Yep.
Like the going down. You didn't miss the call, though, right? Like, she literally all of a sudden you see, like, I got a voicemail. Where's this from?
Went straight to voicemail.
Oh.
I didn't answer it.
Oh, you could have been talking to Selena.
I'd rather not. I mean, what am I going to say?
What are you going to say? Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Selena. Yeah.
Keep
Keep giving us hits. I think that might have been her biggest song, and I don't think we've had a song as big since. And her acting career is probably in better shape right now than her musical career.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So, but that was a while ago. That might be
you could tell by her voice, though, that was a while ago. She sounds like she's 12.
I remember the moment when I'm like, oh, Selena Gomez is not somebody that I can get down with as an actress is a human, because they used to, like when my kids were little, they would watch Disney Channel all the time, and they did this vignette on Selena Gomez when she was just starting as a musician, and she kept talking about her band. Oh, my band this, and my band this. I'm like, you're like 15 and you're calling these adults, these musicians, these guys who have actual talent, my band. Like, how about our band? We have fun, not I, me. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of over Selena Gomez. Back then.
Well, Selena Gomez as an actress, just, she's the Gen Z. Okay, I'm kind of bored with it. Everything is beneath me. Oh, somebody else got murdered. Let's go solve it. Okay,
this is the only murders in the building.
I mean, maybe that's her character, but my impression is that's who she really is in life, and those are the easier characters that you can play.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that might be the best that I can come up with in short notice is Selena Gomez leaving me a voicemail. I don't know that I'm sure I have Boeheim. I do have Boeheim, but I don't know who else I have in there that would be of interest.
So don't steal Danger's cell phone, basically.
I don't have Taylor Swift in my cell phone.
Are you kidding?
I might have somebody connected to her, but I don't have actually Taylor Swift. I do not. Unless I want to really make your head spin. I have Taylor Swift's cell phone number. Kidding.
Play the chimes, and everybody was like, "Oh,
I'm kidding. I do not. Don't call Taylor Swift. Whatever you do, don't prank call her. You'll have a punishment far harsher than $250,000."
I would think she probably is at the point where she actually doesn't even touch the phone. She doesn't even have her own phone, right? And if she does, it's a burner phone that kind of, or people just, okay.
A toy.
Yeah, that's
something she just plays with.
Yeah. Like the Terry Pagula, the idea that, this is like, 10 years ago, but it's not that long ago, that he didn't even, really have email.
Do you use, somebody told me you don't use internet, you don't use a computer at all?
No, I don't know. I use it with Kim and the kids.
Okay.
And Achilles over here wandering around.
To communicate with the kids?
Yeah, I ask them, hey, how do I do this?
Okay.
I have an iPhone now.
Oh, okay. So congratulations. You used to have a flip phone. I think a year ago.
I did see it with the flip phone. Do you send text messages and emojis and everything?
Yeah, I can send emails. You know what? I accidentally did one once, and I couldn't use my phone for like a half a day, and I got mad. I said to Kim, well, what's wrong with my phone?
For all of you that want to hear more from Terry Pagula, be careful what you wish for.
I love, I use the phone. I love Murphy to communicate. At that point, Murphy's probably like, where do I go with this? You have a phone.
Way to go. Congratulations.
That's a level of wealth that you don't even know about. I tried to send an email. You deal with it.
Email. You don't know what that is. Tell me about these electronic M's that you send off into space. He's alien. Absolute alien behavior.
I love that. Maddie Seltzer puts the Charleston.
The Maddie Seltzer.
Where's
Maddie Seltzer, the original, the OG sports bar intern? Love that kid.
Puts the Charleston.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for if you really, really want to hear more from Terry Pagula. Guy that doesn't know how to send emails. Guy that doesn't know how to use his phone.
No.
Doesn't need to.
Isn't that great unintentionally? If Terry Pagula, Terry Pagula press conference coming up tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Wouldn't we all tune in?
Well, because it's so rare. What is he going to talk about? It's either going to be really good or really bad.
Whenever he talks now, it's just a statement. That's it. And we welcome back the Buffalo Sabres, Lindy Ruff. Blah, 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 blah. And that's it. And walks off.
We got to get to a round of shots next on the Fan.
Yeah, we had hot uniform talk yesterday, Danger.
Yes.
We've got it again from baseball.
Come on.
Yeah, another
More
team.
baseball.
More baseball, hot uniform talk.
We discussed the Bills rivalry collection earlier.
Yeah, which that is the ultimate tease, right? They haven't even announced the date that we're going to see it. So it's an announcement that there's an announcement of a reveal of some sort of Bills alternate uniform that's going to be coming up in 2025.
Okay.
They're playing us. We've got that. We've got, and I'm going to explain to you, Danger, why you're going to have a new favorite announcer when it comes to Major League Sports here.
Oh.
Something that I could see you doing easily.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. If you'd like to get the last word here in the sports bar, last call is for you at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. We'll get to that. But first, a round of shots next on the Fan Rochester.
Yeah, breaking news here in the sports bar. The Buffalo Bills are signing wide receiver Elijah Moore. The 25-year-old played with the Browns last year, also played with the Jets. It's 1 year up to $5 million, this according to Adam Schefter and others. On the Major League scoreboard, game one of a doubleheader, seeing the Cardinals shutting out the Reds by a score of 6-0. Other finals from baseball today. Hey, the Rockies, they get their 5th win of the season. They're now 5-25. They beat the Braves by a 2-1 score. Tigers over the Astros 7-4. Games in progress. Dodgers up big on the Marlins 9-3. You have the Angels and Mariners tied at 3 in the 5th. Padres up 3-0 on the Giants, bottom of 5. Yankees tonight sending Cookie Carrasco to the mound in Baltimore. The Mets hosting Arizona. Wings home tonight as Lehigh Valley once again the opponent. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
All right, let's expand on it, Gino. A little breaking news in the sports bar.
Yeah, so Moore selected in the second round by the Jets, but it was in 2022 that he requested a trade, and the Jets, being the Jets, they said, okay, off you go to Cleveland, where he went for a second-round pick. And if you just look at the quarterbacks he's played with in the NFL, a guy who's still young. He's 25, right, as we mentioned. I would, for anybody that's upset about the wide receivers, I hear you, but compare the guys that Bean has signed this year, Moore to pair with Josh Palmer, compared to last year, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, and everybody else that didn't make the team. I think we're okay with this, right?
Yes. Okay, so 61 receptions last season, 1 touchdown, 538 yards. Here's why I'm okay with it. Here's what I think it, if you want to like read between the lines, and our conversation with Jeremy White was enlightening earlier. I think it's fair to believe, because the Bills took as many pre-draft visits with wide receivers as they did, that they wanted to get more help at the position through the draft. They weren't able to. They got a 7th rounder just to kind of save face, if that, and left the draft saying, we still need help at this position, but who's out there? And they went with youth. And Moore is still, you said 25?
25.
I mean, it's not as young as a Keon Coleman. It's not as young as somebody you would have drafted, but it's not bad. There's a lot of game left in that guy at 25.
Yeah, the fact that it's the 1 year, and again, you throw out $5 million. Folks, we don't wait for the real numbers on this. Like, what is the signing bonus? What are the incentives likely to earn? What are the incentives not likely? Incentives you can roll over to the following year. Elijah Moore coming in at that number isn't anything. It's just, okay, he's another guy, and if it doesn't work out, just like MVS,
right,
you move on.
That's right. I mean, you're not going to have, at this stage of free agency, you don't have a number one. Like, if you're looking for the number one guy, who's the number one? He needs a number one. You're not going to find that guy. That guy doesn't exist at this stage of the offseason. So this is about as good as you could get, short of drafting somebody younger with a higher ceiling than Elijah Moore. Don't hate the signing at all, and I think it'll be fun to see him at training camp.
Yeah, that's your Bills headline story. Lots of other things happening here, Danger. 40 seconds left in overtime. Things are looking good. Facing elimination, the Milwaukee Bucks up by 7. They lost. Indiana advancing to the second round. It is not a failure. Well, the guy who said that, Giannis Antetokounmpo, could be on his way out. Now, he's not a free agent, and as far as we know, there hasn't been a formal trade request, but I'll tell you what, there's speculation all over the place that, where, in fact, there's odds right now who is going to be Giannis's next team.
Lakers.
What could they offer Milwaukee in a trade?
Bronny.
I tell you one team that could use him, Miami.
I'm just so over this player. And I know he's not a bad guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying the player.
I feel like you and I, there's a massive disconnect when he was lecturing how being being the number 1 seed, losing to a huge underdog as an 8th, and he's asked the question, do you view this season as a failure?
Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, provide the house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success, And if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it, Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
Okay.
There's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful. Some days you're not. Some days it's your turn. Some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's gonna win. And this year somebody else is gonna win.
So
simple as that.
he talks about his steps. I mean, you can take steps backwards.
Well, and this is why all reporters, if you scoff at, you really need to kind of learn to listen and follow up. There was Michael Jordan never, the 9 years, were they a failure? Michael Jordan was never the 1 seed losing to an 8 seed.
Right.
This is rare what just happened in NBA history.
Right. When that happened, for him to say it wasn't a failure and then his coach to lose his job a couple of years ago, well, then tell me what is a failure? Because you losing to an 8 seed and costing your job, your coach, who won a championship, his job, yeah, it's a failure. Yes, you could say it's a failure, but we're going to dust ourselves off. We're going to get better because of this. This is bad, but it's not going to define us long term. This is the problem I have. I just don't know that he has. I think you need to win titles, to win championships, to be considered an all-time great. You need a killer instinct. You need to be an assassin out there. You need to be ruthless.
You need to be a cleaner.
You need to be a cleaner.
You need to be a cleaner.
Who's a cleaner in that series? Halliburton or Giannis? It's Halliburton. Crushing.
Yep.
Crushing for the Pacers. Giannis, good luck wherever you go. I can't root for this guy. I don't believe he has any heart. I don't think he has that killer instinct. He may be a great guy. You could view him as a role model for your kids, and you could tell your kids, yeah, he's right. This is about the process, and this is about having fun. And yeah.
I mean,
Fine. With your kids, you can have that conversation. You can play. They'd be like, he's a role model. He's not a killer. I want a killer. I want titles. He's not that guy.
No, the thing that bothered me was so many parents posted that across my feed. This is what it's all about. Not to get all preachy, but sports is designed to teach your children how to rebound after failure, after disappointment.
Battle adversity.
It's fine when you're playing t-ball at age 6 and 7 and you have fun and you go out for ice cream. But when you get up and playing when you're older, you're going to lose. In life, you're not going to win every day. You're going to lose. How do you respond?
His reaction to that question tells you all you need to know about him. He's soft. He's soft. He took it personally. He got upset. He deflected, and his coach lost his job a couple days. Tough look for the it's not a failure crowd. That was a failure. I'm not calling him a failure. He won a title. He's a champion. But whatever he had in that run, which might not be much, just enough to get him a title against Brooklyn, he's not a killer. Don't want him on my team.
For the record, Mike Danger was promoted. He's now managing a station in New Orleans. So every year, is it a failure or is it no? 2 games tonight in the NBA.
I got to hear them bitch about Zion, and they all agree with me. That guy needs to get out of here. We're done with him. I'm like, yeah. If you're a me first guy, get out of here. You're not a team guy. He's not a team guy. He's a Zion guy.
No, if you're talking in the third person, yeah, that's
He's got nothing to show for it. What kind of a winner are you? You're not. You're a me first guy. Get out of here.
The basketball ratings have been good here, Danger. We get 2 more games tonight worth checking out. Both are elimination games. 7-seeded Golden State, who was actually favored in this series. They can move past Houston with a win in Game 5, 7:30 on TNT. Followed up by the 3rd-seeded Lakers, facing elimination on their home court. Minnesota has clearly been the more physical team in this series. T-Wolves up 3-1.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Man, last night was just one thing after the other. I mean, alert. There's so much going on. Watching all of the action in real time. So a little bit of a step back here with a couple of elimination games in the NBA. Looking forward to it.
You've got 3 games in the NHL playoffs tonight. Can Montreal bounce back after a tough Game 4 loss? Washington can advance with a win. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. On ESPN2 at 7:30, you have the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers looking to make quick work of the Lightning. They're up 3-1. 9:30 for the pivotal Game 5 out west. The President's Trophy winner, Winnipeg. Not so easy here in this series. That's tied at 2 with St. Louis.
We were having a conversation before we jumped on the air. The proper use of pivotal versus decisive versus...
Right. So in a 5-game series, when it comes to like the Ammer,
it's 2-2.
That's not pivotal.
No,
it's
decisive. Right, because the winner will decide the winner of the series.
But if a 5-game series, say it's 1-1, that doesn't feel right to say pivotal Game 3.
No, I agree. So we can only use pivotal in a 7-game series.
That's how it is.
That's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Hot uniform talk. This is what you were waiting for.
I have been waiting. I mean, I don't know how much more I can take in one afternoon. We talked about the Bills and the Nikification and the rivalry collection that's coming this season, but what else do we got?
All right, so the way I like to do this with Danger is I don't tell him in advance. I want to get his reaction in real time. And once again, this hot uniform talk coming from Major League Baseball as the Miami Marlins have joined the White Sox and the Astros as teams that, well, they're unveiling a new City Connect uniform. And I'll describe this for you. Miami with black jerseys, the word Miami written across the front, and teal and a pink pattern. Not quite like, Miami Vice, but you get the pink on the sleeves as well. The neon light, nightlife sort of thing. The hat on the Marlins logo with the Marlins logo across the front, but you also see the area code of 305. Danger?
They're not my favorite, but they're not the worst that I've seen. I kind of dig the 305. I think if I lived down there, I could rock that. I think I would wear that. That looks kind of cool. And if you have a lot of pride in that area code and that area, I would wear that. So in terms of selling ball caps, well done. I think they will sell ball caps.
I think the pink actually works with that.
It's not too bad. It's clean. It says Miami. You've got the streaks, very kind of Miami Vice looking, 80s almost, streaks of pink and what's the color? Turquoise? Not turquoise.
It's like a teal.
Yeah, like a teal. Right, exactly. I don't hate them, but I'm just generally kind of not into the City. Like the City Connect, I think is where you go to look to find the worst looking uniforms in all of professional sports. You could start with the Padres and work your way up from there.
The Padres I get because it's kind of the zoo theme and
it's
everything.
It's just disgusting. It's the worst looking the worst looking uniforms in all of professional sports.
Your Wrigleyville ones are just
They're not great. They're not great. I'm saying you could start with the Padres City Connect and work your way up from there. Wrigleyville is not much farther up.
Listen, I'm not a fan of the Mets one. Gotham just gray. Very drab.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to be like old man yelling at clouds here. No, have fun. I want you to have fun, but I just don't think these designs are that great. I don't love them. I want to love the design. I actually, for them being a minor league team, I thought the Bulls jerseys looked pretty cool.
The White Sox are not a minor league team. They're actually in the American League.
Oh, they are? Their record last year didn't really look like a Major League Baseball team, but okay. These will be fine. They're not the worst that I've seen. They're not the best. I think they're okay.
We've all got our side hustles. Ideally, it's something you do outside your normal job, something that, well, it doesn't feel like a job to you, but you're getting paid for it, right? That's the ideal side hustle. Well, Adam Amin, he's a play-by-play announcer, pretty good one. He calls games for the NFL and Major League Baseball. He works for Fox, also calls Chicago Bulls games. That's a full schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bull season, NFL, Major League Baseball for Fox. Adam Amin has a side hustle, too. In a profile in Front Office Sports, we learned that he has a job working as a nightclub.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Scores Chicago. Scores Chicago. It's me, Adam, DJ Adam Amin, and I would like to invite you to check out Stage 3, where Crystal is now on stage. Crystal, Stage 3. Crystal, Stage 3.
I don't think he's that type of nightclub DJ.
What other nightclubs exist in 2025?
This is how
nobody goes out anymore. Nobody drinks. Nobody goes out. Everybody just we're gonna go to a bar, go to a brewery, a brew pub, nightclub. Who goes to a nightclub?
Fair enough. Point well taken. But there are weddings, there are stuff, and he would do those things in college, and that is how he put himself through college. It was only about 2 years ago that, well, he loved DJing. He picked it back up. How many weddings have you done?
That's how I started. I was 14. 14, 15 years old, DJing weddings. That was my side hustle while I was working part-time at the radio station at age 15. So I did a couple of weddings. I did a couple of high school dances. And, that was a couple extra bucks here and there just to lug my my speakers around. I had a mixing board. I had all the equipment. So my parents are like, go hustle, go make money. You need a job. I'm like, okay.
What was the biggest tip you ever got for, hey, can you play this song?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I really don't remember. Like money, I had no concept of money and its worth back then. I didn't care.
No, you and every other 18-year-old.
I didn't care.
Like in, out,
That's
there
it.
goes,
I
yeah.
really didn't care. I have no idea. But, okay. So me and Amin have something in common. We both started young getting our start as a DJ, but not that kind of. Hey, everybody, DJ Adam Amin, welcoming you on in to the Sundowner. And I see over there, Cinnamon is on stage 4. Cinnamon, stage 4, don't forget. Quarter Wings every Wednesday.
You have the chops to do that. You know, the tally hose.
It doesn't take a lot.
No.
It doesn't take. You have the chops to do it. Anybody can do it. Can do what I just did. It's not that hard.
Yeah, remember to tip your waitress.
Yeah,
Working
that's
hard
correct.
tonight.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, fun show this afternoon.
I still want you to give me a nighttime on PXY. I can be no.
Yeah, well, you haven't. If you want to be on PXY, you need to learn how to hit a post. If you can't hit a post, I have no use for you on that radio station. We keep things tight. You got to be able to say 20 seconds of information in 15. Fun show this afternoon. We appreciate you stopping by. Jeremy White was our guest in the 3 o'clock hour. We also spent some time talking to Spencer German from The Fan in Cleveland about the Browns and their draft. If you're telling me we can get this call in less than 30 seconds, Gino.
John in Rochester. You got 20
John.
seconds.
How are you, buddy?
Hey, guys. Hey, Mike, have a good time in New York.
Will do, buddy.
Alonzo's hot, I'll tell you. And Soto's going to get hotter, I think. It's going to be good.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to being at Citi Field and taking it all in. Should be fun.
Thank you, John.
That was it. That's all you got?
I knew we were up on time. Sorry, John.
Sorry, John. Hit the bricks. I don't know if you had a point.
Hey, hit the post.
Let me tell you something. Hey, guys, let me tell you. Elijah Moore. I wouldn't be surprised if Elijah Moore goes for 1,500 yards this season with the Buffalo Bills.
Let me show you how it's done. You want to hand the keys over to me? I'm going to drive this one home.
Okay, finish it up, Gene.
Well, coming up tonight, we will have the JR Sport Brief, but coming up tomorrow on the show, Tim Schneider will be filling in for Mike Danger. Dan Fates, as he normally does, will be joining us on a Thursday. We'll be talking about the signing of Elijah Moore. And, of course, tomorrow, a very big day here as we're going to be talking about the Rochester Americans in Game 3 against Syracuse. You want to wrap this one up quick. If you missed any of the show today, well, you can go back and listen to it on the Odyssey app. And certainly we're here every day from 3 to 6. I'm not running out of steam here at Danger. I'm just learning how to hit a post. You have fun down in New York, buddy. Coming up next.
Painful. Painful. So close.